Before we begin today's podcast, we've got a quick word from our sponsor. Football's right around the corner. Get in on all the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And with the NFL returning, DraftKings is giving new customers $200 in free bets instantly when they bet $1 or more on any football game. Listen up, because you don't want to miss this. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game to receive $200 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings will still have huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. And in Week 1, DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at $1 million in top prizes. Nothing adds to the excitement of watching a game quite like having a free shot at $1 million in top prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game and get a free shot at $1 million top prize with a first deposit. That's promo code THPN for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of a $5 deposit and $1 wagers required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Welcome, everyone, to the... what's going on, Grumpy?
Okay, I just listened to that ad. Now, I noticed that your voice went up in it and then went back down. And then it went... I mean, did you record that straight through, or was it like a butcher job? How long did it take you to actually record that 1 minute ad?
Well, I had to take off of work today. I said, can't come.
No. Okay, that wasn't my question.
It took an entire day. That's what I'm alluding to. An entire day, Grump.
To say a minute worth of something?
Yes.
Are you not able to just read straight through for a minute?
You know, I struggle, Grump. I'm illiterate sometimes. You know this.
I think you can't speak either. It has nothing to do with literacy.
Yeah, but welcome to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is the grumpy old man, our NHL analyst and expert, because they say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
And with us today, special guest, Andy Francess. Now, Andy, I ran across this year around playoff time. I saw he was doing a breakdown of a different transition into the Islanders zone where Matt Barzal was catching some slack for a bad turnover in the offensive zone. And I said,
it's flack. It's flack, not slack.
Flack. Grump, what can I say? I've already got 2 mistakes and we're not even 5 minutes.
He deserved slack. He deserved some slack, but was catching flack.
There we go. And I ran across Andy when he was on Twitter, and I thought to myself, hold on a second. I've seen him before. I've seen him on Instagram and TikTok as a comedian. I've seen him before. And I said, this guy's funny. I'd followed him before I even knew he talked about the Islanders. I knew we had to have him on this offseason.
Well, I am very happy to be here. I know it's completely random. First of all, I love how Indiana had its own gambling number. So if you're a degenerate gambler, just call this number in every state. But in Indiana, you got to call this separate line. I'd love to know what happened behind that. And as a huge DraftKings player, I'm going to maybe I'll look deeper into that. But so I do old school. I used to be considered a actor and comedian, but now I guess I'm lumped in with that content creator, whatever people want to call it now. But I am a diehard Islander fan. And randomly throughout the playoffs, I get so worked up about certain things. The only way, it's like I look for somebody to vent my frustrations to. And then, so I just take it to Twitter. And I have one friend who kind of is like, I don't know what you call your tightly knit Islander Twitter community, because it seems like everyone kind of knows each other. But somebody I'm good friends with, Alex, Buddy, he's on there, so he just kind of retweets some of my stuff because he's friends with me, and then somebody eventually sees it, and maybe that's how you came across it too.
I was about to say, I don't even know what we call our small group. I guess fans of the Islanders, but
yes, fans of the Islanders. Correct.
What do you, Grump? What's going on?
Do you know how to talk to people?
I struggle with social skills.
Obviously. Andy,
know.
what a
Okay.
pleasure it is to meet you, Andy.
It is. It is a pleasure
Now,
to meet you.
now, do you pronounce your last name Francess?
Nah, just Francis is good.
Oh, whoa.
Francis is good.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, look, we got to keep it simple for people. People can't string two sentences together. If I start enunciating my name a different way, first of all, I'm going to be considered obnoxious for correcting people, and then you just want to make it as easy as possible for these Gen Z kids.
Okay, I was Francez. I mean, like Francez. I mean, I was trying to set you apart. I don't know.
Like
What the heck do I know?
chicken franchise.
Like that, something just
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I've got all the links in the description below there for Andy's, where you can find him on Spotify. You can find him on Instagram, TikTok. I know we have a huge TikTok following that listen to our podcast.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
We have none. I know Grumpy's giving me that look, but no, we don't have any of that type of following. But make sure you go ahead and check out Andy's information. That is in the link in the description below. Also, remember, we go live every single Wednesday and Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Saturday, it's going to be a little different. We've got Rob Shrimp on. It's going to be 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out on any of the action, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. But, Grump, you seem like you are a little cranky today.
Is there anything else they should follow, TJ?
Oh, yes. How could I forget? TJ and the Grumpy Old Man Show. It's a general sports podcast. That is also in the link in the description below. We start 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, Grump.
Yeah, well, I hope so. And the biggest appeal that the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man Show is me. It's not TJ. I mean, everyone knows that.
Well, obviously, Grump, obviously. But you've seemed a little angry already today. What's going on, man?
Islanders finally announced some of their moves, which we all knew about. And what do you know? We spent up all our cap money on retreads. Just, I don't know. I'm going to wait for somebody else to mention something that I talk about normally because I do have some more product placement, but I'm going to wait for the appropriate time to bring it out. That's all I'm going to say.
Grump, are you talking about Shampoo Lou? Wash, rinse, and repeat?
Yes, I am. I have my own bottle of Lou Poo right here.
Lou Shampoo. Look at that, Grump. Oh,
Lou Poo. And what does it do? I'm going to tell you what it does. You put it on your hair, and it does absolutely nothing year after year. Wash, rinse, repeat. You just have the same result. I think it's made for bald people. So, Andy, you would not be able to use this. Somebody like me could.
My
It
biggest
doesn't
fear.
really matter if my hair is clean or dirty. Use Lou Poo because it does absolutely nothing to improve your situation. Thank you.
so I've got a feeling.
So it was like a fake product advertisement.
Yes.
Just was a quick I like that. A fake advertisement to what? Just take a quick side swipe at Lou.
Why not?
I don't know. I was just clarifying. I wasn't sure. I'm like, is this Lou Poo, some Belgian thing that we don't know about that they had shipped in here? But
See, Andy, I can tell you've not been listening to our show because this has been a running joke. Not Lou Poo, but Shampoo Lou is what I've called him in the past because every year it's just the same thing. Wash, rinse, repeat. Nothing ever changes.
so in regards to nothing ever changes, does that mean they try to just kind of keep the same team without any sort of drastic changes? And I'm assuming that's what you're insinuating.
Yes, we bring back the same cast and crew, which was not good enough to win, and somehow we expect different results the older they get. The older into their 30s, 40s, and 50s that they get, we expect an improved product. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. I often say that players age like vinegar, not like wine, and we're getting ready to see it here big time.
I'm gonna let you. I'm a guest here, so I'm gonna let your host.
No, Andy. I
tackle
want to
that.
kind of hear. Trust me, I know what Grumpy's opinion is
All right.
on
Well,
what our signings
dude,
are. I'll let everybody get to it, but I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Okay, so my thoughts on that. I mean, I guess you could see on a simplistic level how you could say that because it's like, the same results. Number one, I mean, and trust me, I want to not be defending the Islanders, so I'll come around to ripping them for certain things. But when it comes to the level of success, there have been incremental gains along the way in terms of, first round, then you make it a couple rounds. And remember, those couple rounds in the bubble, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals in the bubble against a fake Philadelphia in round 2 is considerably different than going on the road into a hostile Boston, winning a game 5. Like that is way harder So to say that there are no gains made is incorrect, but I guess I could see. I mean, if that was the case, he would have kept Eberle, not re-signed Palmieri, and he would have tried to keep the exact same team. And I wish you were right. I wish you were right, because I've lost sleep every single night since Devon Taves was let go. It makes me I don't even want to talk about it. I don't, because it makes me that level of sick.
Don't feel bad. We've been talking about it for the last year. Now, here's the thing. We might think that beating a sad Philadelphia squad wasn't as difficult as beating Boston. But, when you have a geriatric case who uses a walker to get in and out of the locker room and net, I think it makes it a little bit easier. When we played in the first round, we wound up playing the empty net, which was Tristan Jarry.
Yeah, we were outplayed.
That went 7
absolutely,
games.
We were absolutely outplayed. We were outplayed in the first 4 games of the Boston series. When Carlo got injured, it started to switch. And then the Islanders gained this weird sort of confidence, because I was like, there's not a chance in hell this team can go the distance. But after that Game 6 against Boston, there was this weird switch in gameplay. Like, they all of a sudden, they at least had stretches where they were dominating, because I had zero faith. And I'm just going to take it to the comparing last year's playoffs, this year's playoffs. Anybody who defends any sort of point that last year, by the way, here comes my grump. Anybody who defends last year, because usually when I bring up Taves, people say, well, what do you mean? Nothing was lost. We were the top defense, and we made it 1 game further. All you need to do is go look at the games from when we played in that playoff bubble to this year. Other teams could get nothing going. You talk about Florida, every single game, under 30 shots, under 30 shots, under 30 shots. In the deciding Game 7 against Philadelphia, under 20 shots, was it? We were shutting teams down. This year, they're conceding 50 shots, 45 shots, 50 shots, and there's chances left and right. Game 5 against Pittsburgh, rewatch it. Game 5 against Boston, literally hanging on for dear life, and that was not the case. And then also trying to claim that we were the top defense in a shortened season when we're just raking up shutouts against the Devils. You saw what happened when they had to play increased competition. The defense as a whole was considerably worse this year. Your eyes will not lie to you. Any playoff game, teams had no trouble getting chances versus the Islanders from the first game all the way to the last game. And it was like, the fact that people can't see that is bewildering to me.
Well, it's because they have vision problems, and the only thing that corrects them is to wear your orange and blue glasses, where everything is perfect in the world.
Oh, yeah, your Islanders blue and orange sunglasses. It for certain does change your opinion. Now, here's the standpoint we've had, and I know Grumpy and I align on this. We usually don't align on much. That being said, we have believed that our window is somewhat finite, right? We have mortgaged off the future. It seems like trade deadline after trade deadline. Be it as it may, I've accepted the situation. Grump's still a little perturbed about it. That being said, I think, and I've always supported, that we needed to add a top 6 sniper. We needed to add a guy who can really go ahead and pair up well with Matt Barzal, who has the ability to score 30-plus goals year in and year out. And we've always believed we need the big fish. I don't think that's going to happen after we release these signings today. After we release, the cap numbers that were tied to this, I don't think it's going to happen.
Potential. The only thing that I see maybe that opens the door for that, we have a weird number of forwards, as in we have more forwards than like the league allows to designate, which makes me think there is a possibility that something could be done to shed a somewhat chunky salary and others, but you might have to mortgage some more future. But I agree with you in that is a crucial piece that's missing. However, there is a weird thing when you have 4 lines who could score and another team doesn't know who to designate their shutdown defenseman against. It does have this weird effect where it's not like it has to fall on one line's shoulders. Then all of a sudden you bring in a Tarasenko and everyone's just staring at that first line all the time. It reminds me of when we brought in Thomas Vanek to play with Tavares when Vanek was in his prime. They didn't gel at all, and then they had to move Vanek off the line, and it was this it doesn't always work like one might hope,
You're forgetting there will be no moves.
Okay.
There will be no improvement.
So I will say this. I forgot to say this in defense of him. Every single player, with maybe other than Sorokin, the Islanders signed way under market value. So while you might not like the same, look at every other contract that was signed. Name me one other player. Like Anthony Beauvillier is a top 6 forward. I mean, 4, 5, 6. Definitely not a top 3. But to sign him for what was the number? Was it 4?
I'll pop it up on screen. I think Anthony Beauvillier definitely signed for a cheaper deal. But again, he's a restricted free agent for 2 of those years. The issue I've got, and I've always had, is how many of these players take hometown discounts. I'd say that Pelech, that was a team-friendly deal. Casey Cizikas, technically got a decrease, 6 years though, right? And I look at Kyle Palmieri. This is a guy who's 30 years old, coming off of the worst year in his career. And, in the 36 games he had played with the Islanders last season, had 13 points. That's even looking at the playoffs. Albeit, I think he'll have a little bit of a bounce back. If he's playing top 6 minutes with Matt Barzal, he's going to perform better. That being said, he gets a pay increase for 4 years, $5 million per. And I'm thinking to myself, if that's a guy who really wanted to be here, wanted to take a hometown discount, 4 years, $5 million, in my opinion, not a hometown discount.
You can't really look at it like that, though. You have to compare it to the similar contracts that are going out there. You have to look at him as him passing up 4 at 6, 6.5, because 34 is like usually the last year somebody's really good before you see a precipitous decline. That just like wide receivers, that age 35, it's like you want to get off there. And the fact that he's out of there. What I do think was they were looking at 2 more years of Eberle at 5.5, and they are a very similar type of forward, with Palmieri maybe being a little more scrappy. And it was essentially, which right wing do you want to choose? I guess they chose Palmieri for whatever reason.
I think Palmieri might be a better fit than Eberle was. That being said, and again, I don't think this is the worst deal in the world. I don't think it's necessarily all that much of a benefit to us. It's not as much of a net benefit as I was hoping for. And again, I look at some other forwards who have signed. And again, I'm going to cherry pick a little bit some players I think.
Hit me with a few of those if you
Ryan
don't mind
Nugent
reminding me.
I think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who signed for about $5.5 million a year. I thought that was a sweetheart deal, and everybody says because he wants to stay. He wants to stay in Edmonton. Yeah, that's terrific. I also thought Kyle Palmieri wanted to stay here, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a team where we've got right now about 3 or 2. What is it, like 2.5 and 2.7, right on $3 million, and that we could still go over the cap due to long-term injury. And I'm thinking, okay, we're still signing Zach Parise. We don't know what the dollar amount tied to that, and who's going to be our left defenseman. So I there's a lot of things that still have to be determined. But I've always been a believer. We've got about 2 years to win the cup. I think we've got to make a big move. We've got to make something that really elevates.
You could have said that about Tampa Bay 7 years ago when they lost to Pittsburgh. I think about things like this all the time. It's like a roulette wheel. The previous instances don't have an effect on the future ones. When people used to say Islanders are pretty old, you can't just take like the meaningless players who aren't a part of the core. If you look at every major contributor, other than I would say there's 3 years on like the Brock Nelsons of the world to be in their prime. But when you look at all the big 3 defensemen, Barzal, Beauvillier, if you want to include Wahlstrom in that group of young, like who's over 33? The
whole freaking team is too damn old.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Hold on. Who? Which guys?
The whole team. We only have.
You can't just say the whole team.
We have.
You want to go? Let's go on the first line. All right. Who's our first line? Who's the Islanders' first line? Okay. How old is he?
31.
31. 32.
Okay. 31. Okay.
Palmieri, 30.
Yes.
Barzal's
24. The second line. Then we go to the second line. Brock Nelson, 30 years
30.
old. John Bailey, what is he, 32, 33 years old?
31.
Beauvillier, 24. Okay. Yeah. Third line, Pajot, 29. Zach Parise, 37.
Okay, yeah.
And Wahlstrom, 21. And then we got Casey, 30. Martin, 32.
Oh, of course. 32. Remember, the fourth line is you're really when you say like the window, you don't need that fourth line to keep.
Then why do we keep signing? Why do we sign?
Because they are, as long as they are. Well, because he's the one who does have the most skill. When if you had to throw him on a line with somebody else, he would produce more. But when you they don't look to generate offense other than through their method of hard forecheck and get it to the net. But if he played with different players, you change your game. As awful as he is on that first line, Komarov had to play different when he knew Barzal and Eberle were out there with him, opposed to when they just shoved him on the fourth line. He could skate around like a goon and hit everything that walks. Don't ever worry about putting himself in a position to score.
I say that's exactly the way he played on that first line. He never even got out of the defensive zone. It was a helicopter line. They said Eberle and Barzal.
Look, I hated it, but
like I said, here's the thing. That's the Islanders. You say the fourth line. Well, that's their identity line. We want to identify as players in our mid-30s who, like I said, you're paying a guy. I look at every one of those contracts, and I can find something wrong with every single one. Really? Casey Cizikas, 6 freaking years. I never saw a fourth line center.
Here's the thing. If we operate under this, because trust me, I would love to see the same. But if we operate under this philosophy, you literally sign 0 players because you are what the market indicates. So that means if everyone else is willing to, you'll never have a player. You literally will never have one player. Like he was willing to take the years or the salary down with a few extra years. You got to understand, he turned down money to stay there. And Islanders, while they're on a good 2-year run, let's not forget decades of not a place you want to be. You know, like
Eric Howler, better player than Casey Cizikas. 2 years, 2.3 million. That's here's the thing. To me, that's an upgrade for less money. And they chose, but that Casey deal was in the bank. 6 years. I've never seen a 4th-year center make as much money as this guy.
But remember, he's a 20-goal scorer who they play on the fourth line for that. I know, but he clearly, as you can see, like look at when he picked the corner in that overtime. You think Matt Martin picks his head up and goes, let me try to go back. He has more skill than them. And I understand he's not a top 6 forward, but we're paying him $2.5 million. Do you know how many people? Thomas Hickey is making like 1.7 or something. Okay? So when you're paying him Thomas Hickey, you should be here screaming about Thomas Hickey all episode. Every episode.
I do scream about Thomas Hickey.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like that's true dead money. One guy is at least centering the fourth line, taking a discount. Yes, nobody wants the last 2 years are going to be garbage. And I got news for you. The last 2 years of Tavares' contract are going to be extra garbage because they're going to be 7 years, because he's going to be like 36 years old and taking $7 to $8 million off their cap. It's just a brutal, unfortunate reality that at sometimes you have to deal with the back end of these things. You know,
here's what you can do. You give him an offer. I'll give you 3 years at $3 million per. If you turn it down, we just go in a different direction. There are plenty of free agents out there.
Yeah. I was not set on him. I was not set on him whatsoever. I don't think Palmieri. I watched him play. He does not jump off the.
He sucks. He's an F minus. F minus. That's
it's not that. He's fine. He's fine. Another one of the Islanders, like, oh yeah, he's fine. He's fine. But the only guy who jumps off is Barzal, and then obviously watching some of the defensemen. But
that's my whole point.
Yeah.
We're not good enough to win.
I'm sorry, Brock Nelson. I swear to you, that guy can. It's rare that you see a player slowly a little better every year. He's he's fast, he can shoot, he's pretty reliable defensively in terms of at least, being where he has to be to prevent odd man rushes. I really like Brock. And Pajot,
he sounds like
too,
a Jag. He sounds like one of the members of Matty and the Jags. Here's the thing. He has been the most improved player under Barry Trotz without a doubt. But last year was not a good year for him. And I don't think he's going to get better as he gets older. He's not a creator.
Offensively, he had a good year. Defensively, I'll tell you, the second line suffered, and you look in the playoffs, they were exposed against Boston. They were exposed against Tampa. Second line defensively did not foot the bill.
And there is a key cog on that second line that look, we'll do this I'm operating as like a guy who took his glasses off and I just see Islanders players blur. I have no... Like the reason I yell about Taves, I don't like how he raised his kids. I don't care about. I'm talking about what I'm seeing with my own 2 eyes as somebody who played, watched for generations. Like Josh Bailey is a 100% liability, and what he offers now, because I don't do that whole but the leadership thing, and just like that worked for the Rangers and Callahan, and when they just chucked him, they finally made it to the Cup, and then they brought in Drury and had to buy him out. So take that aside, all he can do is make good passes when given time. He's not strong on the puck. He's not strong on the boards. And the area he murders us the most, and I swear to you, go to my Twitter once every month. You'll just say, yep, ruin that one, ruin that one, ruin that one, is as the lefty quarterback on the power play. He doesn't have the finesse he forces pass after pass after pass, and he can't one time, which means, you ever wonder how Ryan Pulock is not just ripping in missiles like Ovechkin or Stamkos? It's because they know there's not the threat of a lefty one-timer like Kucherov, or like how they set up Carlson. You need somebody on the other side, and when they know Bailey cannot one-time it, and he has no shot, and he forces passes through, he is a power play 2 ruiner. It is. And maybe this year you'll watch a little closely. I'll just text you every time. Did you see that one? Did you see that one? I could even show you in the playoffs. Even when he got lucky, just throws it off his skate and it goes in. I don't care that it goes in. That's not a repeatable play. It's not. I understand he's been here a long time. He goes to my friend's restaurant. It has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about the player that I see out there. And someone's like, did you see those points in the playoffs? Yes, the line played great, and secondary assists I can get if I win a face-off,
Oh,
you agree completely. You could agree completely with us on that one. I know maybe you might be even a little bit more negative towards Josh Bailey than Grumpy is.
He's my secret hope that the Islanders are getting a true scoring winger. Is that if they somehow can convince like some of the idiots who think he's like a godsend, maybe all those idiots on Twitter's purpose was served because one of these GMs goes to Twitter and goes, you know what? This guy might be pretty damn good, and then trade for him. Maybe that will be the beautiful, karmic nature of all this, and I could finally sleep a sigh of relief.
No, it won't happen.
No,
they
of course
like
not.
him. I'm expecting him to get another contract extension when this one is up. Mark my words. Mark my words. 33-year-old Josh Bailey gets at least another 3-year deal from this team.
Here's why I'm going to say there's hope. At least hope. By the way, they already did this to me. I swear, I'll send the text out with my younger brother. We're like, please, come on, Seattle, take Bailey. Every time we saw a Bailey thing. And of course, they knew. They knew I was checking. Eberle gets taken. But the one positive is maybe, just maybe, the threat of leaving him exposed is essentially letting us know that it's not a 0% chance that he gets traded, because if he was that, they kept Matt Martin on that protected list over him.
You realize he was exposed in the Seattle draft also, and he's never leaving.
We worked out a deal with Seattle though.
What?
We had worked out a deal with Seattle in order to Offload. Who was it? Was it Grabowski? Was it?
No, that was the last time they took Eberle. They took Eberle. Wait, what are we talking about?
Seattle.
Seattle.
Seattle's draft also.
Okay, Seattle Kraken. Gotcha.
Here's the thing. No one wants Josh Bailey. His mother doesn't even want him coming over for Sunday dinner.
That's not true.
That's
not true. Some people, no, because he did have those points in the play. Like, they can look at that and they could also say, I'm just surprised a team like Seattle didn't want him. They could say, like, he can have that leadership thing. Because, he's considered more like he was he's an assistant captain, and Eberle's not really kind of looked at like that. But I guess they didn't go that route, They
didn't want him because he is the Carvel version of soft serve ice cream.
Is that a half? Is that a half Mr. Softy theme you just gave me right there?
That's exactly what it is, and that's what he is. Soft. No one wants him. I'm going to tell you again, his mother, who calls into this podcast, complains that I pick on little Joshy. Well, know what?
Miss Bailey, look, now I can't say what restaurant which of my friend's restaurant that he eats at. He'll never go again. But this has nothing to do with you know what? It ain't going to help. If this was my son, I don't care. I would want to tear all right, I give her full okay to just hate me for the rest of my life. Don't worry, your son's doing a whole hell of a lot better than me, I'll tell you that.
Even she admits that he's not an elite player. That's all I have to say.
Oh, look at that. I tell you. Now Grumpy's talking about, we get some comments sometimes from Josh Bailey's mother. It's a little running gag here on the show.
I don't think it's his actual mother, but who knows?
No, it's not his mother.
Anyway, was there an account at Josh Bailey's mother 2 or something?
Josh's mom. Josh's mom, Josh
Josh
Bailey's mom.
Bailey's mom. Oh yeah, of course. But I was in a thought process of I really did want a trade, and again, just like you had mentioned, as we talked about before, we wanted maybe Josh Bailey and an additional piece that had to go back the other way for a character like Tarasenko. The more I see these deals being revealed now, I think that all right, that people are trying to pump up Lou as being some sort of guy who was playing 4D chess. He was keeping everything concealed tight to the chest. He wanted anonymity. He didn't want anybody to know any type of deals he already had done. That kind of fell through because all we do was just announce it with no big move coming through.
I figured out what happened.
What is that?
Lou has early onset dementia, and he just forgot where that paperwork was. He's had it done for months and weeks.
So as far as what you said, absolutely. And I'm just like picturing this movie scene where there's like people really like intense, like, and just imagine what he's thinking up right now. And it cuts to what he's doing. He's like playing miniature golf with the girl from Starbucks or something completely, unrelated to what somebody would be thinking. But trust me, we are going to sound stupid if you have to understand those contracts are all under market value. You have, even if you hate the players, he got better than any other, mostly any other GM. Yzerman's done some really good moves. So regardless of what you think, like you're upset those guys didn't take more of a home discount, but they did. They took a discount. And the fact that he got a discount on everyone other than Sorokin, like you can't just say, oh, this sucks. He might not be 4D chess, but there's 3.5.
I don't see that Beauvillier's deal is below market for a restricted free agent. For the numbers that he puts up, his, I think 4.5 or 4.125 is fine. I have no problem at all with that. Remember, he's restricted, and he did get over 100% increase in his salary from his last one.
Yes, because he's on the early stages of his deal, and you have to remember, you can't just start insulting people with these restricted free agent deals because then they'll get out of here. You have to be fair with them. He has been a crucial part. He's the only lefty we have who can shoot a one-timer. Because we just want to get rid of Taves. We want to get rid of everyone with the lefty shot. He's literally he's very important. He's very important.
Yeah. Oh no, I like Anthony Beauvillier. He drives the second line. When he's going, the second line goes.
You love showing these deals. Go show some other team's salary caps, and then you're gonna start hugging your mother tonight that you got these deals.
Here's the thing: it's not mutually exclusive. Just because somebody else makes a stupid and idiotic signing doesn't mean that I can't criticize our organization for making a poor signing too.
I have a question.
For sure.
I have a quick question.
For sure, I'm with you on that.
Would you rather have 4 years of Kyle Palmieri at $5 million per? Or 2 years of Vladimir Tarasenko
Jesus Christ, Grumpy.
at 7.5.
You mess up his name all the time.
That's a ludicrous question. Of course, I would take Tarasenko because the worst case scenario. But yes, worst case scenario is there's 2 years. There's 2 years there, and I understand. Like yes, but that's a separate point than. Did they get a good deal? Like, yes, you can criticize the contracts. You're criticizing the amount he won by, not the fact. Like, no, he got good deals on all of them. You guys are going to have to come to terms with that. Whether you don't like to me, if they paid Josh Bailey $1 million, I'm still sick that they re-signed him. But I say, wow, they got him for a couple $1 million under the market. That's all I'm saying. Just from a mathematics perspective,
You look at a guy. How many points did Palmieri put up last year?
Well, I know for the Islanders, 36 games played, 13 points, including.
Okay, 13 points and 30. That does not deserve a raise. I'm sorry. And you know what? I'm going to offer you $4 million. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. But here's the thing. What's the real issue? You have no one to backfill your roster with young players because we keep on trading away draft picks.
Somebody would have paid him. Somebody would have paid him more than $4 million. The thing is,
honestly, you guys really need to.
Anthony Duclair.
Reevaluate what people make,
Anthony Duclair, who played way better last year, just signed a 3-year, $3 million per with Florida. That's a vastly better, and he had a way better year than Palmieri, and he signed a way better contract in Florida. And he's under 30.
I'm not so upset with the $5 million. I honestly thought, hey, 4.5 maybe would have been like, hey, let's go ahead and meet somewhere in the middle. Whatever, $5 million. I'm not going to argue over 500,000. The issue I have is when we're looking at guys like Casey, right? He did take a pay cut. I'm happy for it. he's a guy who's injury prone beyond all belief. He's 30 years old, and we signed him to a 6-year contract. Anytime I hear somebody support the idea of, well, we can just bury him in the AHL, what we're doing is further kicking the issue down the line. I have no problem. 2.5 is good, I think, for Casey. 6 years. Come on.
I'm with you on that. Like I said, he's one of the guys I would have let go. I would have let go. And even though they are getting a discount for him, like, yeah, it's not to me, he's not one of the key cogs, for me. So yeah, I have no problem. Like, people, they can't face this fact. But if you have to deal with another year of Leo Komarov, you can stick him on that fourth line. They're still hitting everything that moves.
Oh, please don't tell me Leo Komarov back on the ice again. Oh.
No, I'm just saying, if you can't get rid of him, like, just as a practical way to get yourself out of this situation, save some money by letting Cizikas walk, throw him on the fourth line, which, remember, every time Cizikas was injured, he went down there. Not like he has no experience. There's still this random energy line hitting everybody, and it's just one of the dirty things that needs to be done in order to turn the page on both. Because in 1 year, now they're both gone.
Here's my thing. When you sign a Kyle Palmieri back, it limits. It means it takes you out of Vladimir Tarasenko. No option. Whereas if you don't sign him for that $5 million, you can still make that trade for Tarasenko and make your first line better, because he's, when healthy, vastly superior to Kyle Palmieri for an extra $2.5 million. But see, that's what I mean. They've had all these guys signed forever. And that's the thing.
But what you're equating re-signing a free agent when you have to give nothing up for to trading for a player from a team who's asking for a considerable amount.
Nothing.
You don't
asking for nothing for him. Remember,
you can say that now. You can say that now, but at the beginning, you can go look back and see what was being asked for. Maybe now that's the case.
Not when the postseason, not when the offseason started. He said, "I'm never playing for St. Louis again." They couldn't give him away.
Yeah, this isn't the NFL. This isn't the NBA. You can say that all you want. Who does that work for? It works for nobody.
It works. Just demand. He goes back to the KHL. But let me ask you this: what do you think the market is for Tarasenko? I think it's more of an over. I don't even think it's the price they're asking for. I don't necessarily agree. I've always believed if they were going to make a deal or broker a deal for Tarasenko, Bailey had to be involved. They said they wanted to compete now. I felt like maybe that's some sort of equitable exchange. They'd have to maybe get up a little more. But my question is, what do you realistically think the price on Tarasenko would be? I don't think they're asking for too much. I think really now it's just the actual shoulder. I think they're upset with how the shoulder looks, and maybe Lou wanted a sweetheart deal where he was going to be able to bend him over the barrel.
Okay, all right.
I know that Buffalo kind of backed out, or was it the Devils? New Jersey backed out a little bit because of the shoulder. They didn't like the MRIs. The doctor said.
What good would that do for the Devils? I also think you have to realize what is 2 years of Tarasenko. The Devils don't even want to win this year, and I wouldn't want to win if you just want to see that team gel into something where you can add a Tarasenko. You don't, they're doing the Rangers thing. Hey, we're doing this rebuild. Good move. Get rid of McDonough, get those first-round picks. Get rid of Nash, get those first-round picks. Rebuild, and then randomly sign Panarin, the best player available. So now you got guys like Kakko and Lafreniere who can have top power play minutes and key situations the way Barzal did and Tavares did when he was younger, and that's the way to stymie the growth of your younger players. The Zibanejad deal was unbelievable, but he should be the one older guy. He should be the guy. They have a full first line of proven talent, and then their young guys are just kind of. They have to play the 40 seconds on the power play after they're done. You really stymie the growth of players that way. So New Jersey bringing in Tarasenko, what purpose would that serve?
Well, that's just to put fannies in the seats, right? I mean, let's be honest. That's what they want to do. Now, for the Rangers, Panarin's on the first power play because he's just that damn good. That's why.
I know. Why would you sign a free agent, the best free agent, in the middle of the beginning of your rebuild? Why?
I think you're about to see the Rangers take a substantial jump next season. Everybody says Grumpy's a Ranger fan. I know our guest on Wednesday, ex-Stanley Cup winner from the Rangers, Mike Hartman. I know everybody's going to try to support that thought process a little more. That being said, I think they're ready to take the next jump. College Quinn he's a hideous coach. Quinn was not put out for the job. He would not have been successful.
Yeah. However, as much as I don't want to give, I have me just calling the Rangers garbage for no reason. It doesn't do anything for anybody. It's just whatever. But to do a full organizational, they may have gotten the way better coach now, but what they got is a way worse GM. Davidson was wheeling and dealing, getting first-round picks for everything, stacking talent. He was doing the right thing. I found myself saying, that's what I would have done. How arrogant is that, saying my move would have been the right one? But like, he was doing things that clearly were smart. He saw the older team. He got what he could for them, turned those into draft picks. But now, all of a sudden, the new guy comes in, it's like, no, we need to be tough now. You're just signing up. Let me tell you what happens if you sign those guys, because you think they take a step forward. The reason I don't is because now they're banking by getting rid of the second liners like Buskevich and whatnot. Yeah. So now you're saying, okay, Kakko, Lafreniere, you're ready for that jump. If they don't make that jump, like Nico Hischier, who I guess is never going to make the jump, then all you have is a one-line team who the whole other team is going to be putting their Pulik and Pelech against a guy like that, and their shutdown line, and then what's left? A bunch of lines. It's a very weird game to play when you do it like that. It can go one of two ways for the Rangers, and I don't like the direction it's going for them by just signing these goons. This is not 2001, you know?
The Boston Bruins with their perfection line. I mean, like, again, some lines are able to do it, some aren't. I always think it's a lot on coaching. Grumpleys, the players win games. Hey, having a good coach and having a coach who's more than competent.
Yeah, really, it was the same team. It was the same team with Tavares before Trotz.
Well, that's right. Barry Trotz, he gave them structure, which they didn't have previously.
Yeah,
that's what he gave them.
Other than the NFL, the NHL is the game where it is most coach dependent and structure dependent. You know, like the Lions, they just won't win with that structure. And now you're going to see Stafford go over there. I'm sorry to just throw other sports in there, but it's the same type of thing. Like when you have a wacky structure, you can have Tavares and Barzal and all these. And I called it roller hockey. The Islanders played roller hockey. When you go to the park and just pick up a stick and let your talent just random hockey. That's what the Islanders' old style was, roller hockey.
Well,
just was.
You know, but here, like, I'm always a players win games, coaches don't. Look at Tom Brady. Leaves New England, goes to Tampa, the worst team in the history of professional sports.
What are you talking about? They missed the playoff by 2 games, and Winston. It's because he had 30 interceptions.
Same offense. That's right. What
do you mean they brought in Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Fournette? People were coming.
Okay,
Grumpy, I got news for you. You know what? You better stick on the grumpy ice
no. Listen to me.
There's no room for you on the field.
Gronk is cashed. Right? Antonio Brown played half the season. Brady came in. He came in and changed
they have 2 Pro Bowl receivers. They bring in Fournette. They already had Ronald Jones, and then Gronkowski to be the second tight end. I mean, tell me what position they aren't good at. They had a defensive line that destroyed Rodgers and Mahomes in the playoffs. That is a fantastic team.
He goes in all right, you want to say the same team, right? From 7-9 to Super Bowl champions. What happens to New England?
It wasn't the same team.
It was the same team. It was the
New
same
England
team.
Who, New England?
New England was virtually the same team too. Went from 12-4 to 7-9, all because of the quarterback.
Yeah. They also had the most COVID opt-outs in the league.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Absolutely, they did not. Did
you just make that up?
Yes, you just making that up.
No, I'm saying, did you just make up that they didn't? Don't you remember all their crucial defensive players who the week before the season opted out? Or the week before the deadline
opted out? They opted out, but how many of them actually came back, right? Just Dante
No, they opted out for the season.
That's right. Dante Hightower is the only guy who came back. All the rest are gone.
No, there was no comeback. When you opted out, you missed the full year.
One guy opted out. And here's the thing.
I wish you see that logo on the bottom right corner? I wish I could gamble you on that right now because you would lose whatever.
Patrick Chung, right? He's finished. His career's over. They were finished.
And starting offensive linemen, you don't remember any of them? None of those starting offensive linemen?
They were healthy. They were all healthy. Marcus Cannon, who's now gone.
You're right. They were healthy because they opted out and they stayed home and they watched Monday Night Raw.
But
that's why they were healthy.
Anymore. They're not playing anymore. What I'm saying is they were finished. Their time was up. They sat out to collect their paycheck, and now they're retired because they were done. He held them together. That guy single-handedly held that team together. Single-handedly. Then he goes to the worst franchise in the history of sports from 7-9 with the same talent. Gronkowski, okay, he had a great Super Bowl. That was it. and Antonio Brown comes in with 8 games left.
I'm going to butt it. Antonio Brown was a third. Again, I don't want to talk football. I can talk football around circles around both you guys who used to play. So, I mean, he was a slot receiver. He was a third guy off. I mean, here you go, right? It didn't affect that Chris Godwin as well as Mike Evans. Those are the 2 primaries. And again, backup tight end of Gronk, excellent talent. But you're right. He's not what he used to be. Leonard Fournette was the guy off the bench. Ronald Jones was still the starter.
Yeah. Well, not really. I mean, you look at the playoff run, it was all Fournette.
It's because he had COVID, because Ronald Jones had COVID.
Ronald Jones got COVID. What was it, like 2 weeks before Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the last 2 weeks of in the regular season.
Okay.
And then he was out, and Fournette took over, and he took the ball.
I mean, it's asinine to just look at those 2 rosters and say it's the same. And when also they drafted the offensive lineman, it was a considerably different team, and Jameis Winston threw so many games away. Yes, quarterback, it's like having a fantastic goaltender. They can win it for you alone. Not doubting that. But when you look at somebody like Jim Harbaugh coming into the NFL, taking a 2-win team and making them go to the NFC Championship, then the minute he goes, they go back to being garbage. And now Shanahan comes in and they're like clearly coaching in hockey and football. Now, let's say you are right. You're taking an outlier who's considered the best quarterback of all time and saying, well, see, look, Brady, that's ridiculous. You're taking the one. Now, just how about you take all the middle tier quarterbacks? Matt Stafford's a fantastic quarterback, threw for 5,000 yards a couple times. Let's see if he just happens to never win a playoff game ever again now that he's with a good system over there.
He won't throw for 5,000 yards. That much I can guarantee you. Playing for the Rams, he won't do that.
No, here's the thing. Got to take everything with a grain of salt. Good coaches definitely help elevate your game. I mean, shit, you saw it overnight change.
Players win games. Players win games.
Yes,
you can put in any scheme you want. If the players
in
don't
basketball, you're right.
You don't win.
It varies by sport. Basketball, you can just call some guys to come to the Nets. You're in the Eastern Conference Finals. How can you watch hockey and not remember the Rangers before the salary cap? They paid everybody $9 million. Yager, Bore, Kovalev, Lindros, Nedved. They literally had a better team than the actual All-Star team and missed the playoffs.
If the coach, here's the thing, the coach could put in the greatest scheme ever. If the players don't execute, they don't win. Players have to execute the strategy.
Yeah, but I know. I'm just
Thank you. We'll move on.
That's crazy that an Islander fan thinks that it's not more about the structure when we had Milbury, did nothing. Finally, you get Lamoriello, and magically 3 straight years in the playoffs, multiple rounds won after not winning a round from 1994 to 2000 and Jesus, whenever Tavares scored. I don't even want to say it out loud.
You left out Garth Snow.
What? I'm disgusted by Garth Snow.
Okay, well, you said from Milbury. Don't go from Milbury to Lou. You got to throw Garth Snow in there, too.
Yeah, but a bunch of donkeys, and then you finally get something good, and magically you're winning playoff series.
I've always believed Barry Trotz is an excellent coach. He gets the most out of the sums of the parts that he has on the team. Sum's always greater than a part. That being said, there are things we pick on him about a little bit here and there.
As you should. Yeah.
Well, some portion of the Islanders fan base is sycophants. They're the Barry and Lou sycophants, where they could do absolutely no wrong. I don't agree with Grump here, where he says, "Hey, coaches, they have very little to do with the team's success."
I didn't say very little. You're mischaracterizing. I said players win games, not coaches.
Okay.
Coaches are not on the field. They're not performing.
You love slogans. You should teach philosophy.
I do.
Grumpy loves his slogans, that's for certain. But man, oh man, I don't even remember where we originally started on. Like it got
you were talking about how Trotz essentially deserves once in a while, if something's worthy of criticism, like how he just refused to address that maybe Komarov wasn't the best option during some of those playoff games.
No, Leo was the first line. He was excellent. I mean, we saw Art Staple releasing articles on it, telling us that, hey, he added some real grit. Leo Komarov is a mainstay. Think about this, right? We were able to cut down our goals against on the first line, even though, our goals may be cut in half. But defensively, we played so much better on the first line. And, that's so important. Art Staple told me that was true.
No, it is. That I don't know if you were being facetious, but
I was definitely being facetious.
Okay, but I mean, there is a certain element where if you are a defensive team and your defense on that first line is so atrocious that it really starts to hinder that balance, but it wasn't at that level, Yeah, it was not at that level.
My biggest issue with Barry Trotz is his refusal to let young guys play in the lineup. He'd rather go with a lesser talented older guy because he knows what he's going to get, as opposed to playing a younger player, working through some of those growing pains. So come playoff time, you have a much higher ceiling with that player.
Well, let me tell you, I've been watching 2 years of these Dobson growing pains, and, I don't know when Mike Seaver's going to come in to cue the music, but I need to stop seeing them because it got to the point where those third period benchings were absolutely merited come playoff time. And also, I don't know about you, if you watched Bellows last year when they gave him an opportunity, he looked as mediocre as anybody I've ever seen. He looked like a generic player when you create one in NHL and you don't give him any features. You just send him out on the ice as a generic guy with a plain face. He was indistinguishable.
I've got to push back on those 2 points here, Andy. So you're talking about Noah Dobson. Hey, guys had less than 100 games. Hey, he can't even grow a beard yet. I look at him and I say, that's
who would play so great after 100 games? Like maybe, I don't know, Devon fucking. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. Oh no, it's fine. You can say what you want on this.
Watch your mouth, buddy.
No, because I know like certain channels and stuff like demonetization and
I don't think there's any issue with anything like that.
What was the difference? Seriously, what was the difference when Devon Taves was playing and Noah Dobson? Right, Devon Taves was playing a regular shift. He never got benched. He never got sheltered minutes.
Well, you give what you get. He was so reliable and he was so smooth. He went to Colorado with this quote unquote star-studded cast of defensemen, and he was given the task to lead them in ice time, which wasn't given to him. He was the one who's 11th, I believe, in Norris voting. How people couldn't see this? So I can use this as my eye to defend the Bellows point. Like you see when somebody jumps off that page at you, and sorry, maybe that's like an acting term or something, but when someone jumps off the page, it's so easy to see. And Tay's size, his skating, he was so fast, he was big, strong enough, and he still needed to work on that. He has one bad series against Tampa Bay, and when people defend it, they just keep pointing to that. And by that estimation, then we should have just given up on Barzal after the Pittsburgh series. Like, the guy had a bad series. It was his second year as a defenseman in the NHL. You let him go, and now he's signed for $4 million a year for 4 years, and he's 11th in the Norris voting on a team with those defensemen that you see. And they went from about 11th in the league in defense to like number 5 or something.
Here's the thing.
We don't disagree with Devon.
I know. That's my thing. Grumpy, you ever want to piss me off? Like, just bring him up, and you'll watch my heart rate.
But here's the thing. Why? He didn't play the style they liked. He was too much of a puck mover. He wasn't enough staying in their style. And why did we lose him? Because Lou mismanaged the cap.
TJ.
Mismanaged the cap.
I have a kind of a question for you. This is more, you like philosophies, Grumpy.
I do.
But I've always thought
they compare him
from a you won't really call this analytical, but people are so quick to give up first-round picks for the trade deadline acquisition. Like you brought up Palmieri, and I agree with you. And you go, man, you're leveraging the future. How come when you have those cap crunch situations, why are you not giving a first-round pick to keep a key cog in your system? So, for example, if you had to get rid of Komarov to clear whoever to get rid of the $4 million, give the first-round pick to Arizona. Now you're re-signing someone. That first-round pick is worth 4 years of Taves. How is that not worth it? But getting Palmieri for 20 games is. You get 20 games of Palmieri, or you get 4 years of a defenseman who's entering his prime.
That's why we can't think outside the box.
No, nobody does it. Nobody in the whole league does it. It's like the weird thing in the NFL where, sorry to keep going back to it, but nobody will trade a first-round pick for like Odell Beckham, but they'll give 4 first-round picks for the number 5 pick when one's like a proven all-star. It's just one of those wacky things that until somebody does it, nobody does it. So people give first-round picks for 30 games of somebody, but they won't give a first-round pick for 4 years of what's going to be a, core 4 defenseman for you.
Now with that one, I think that I was this thing like Devon Taves pissed me off because we always had gone back and we thought it like this, right? After the series 2 years ago with Tampa, Trotz came out saying, "Hey, how Nick Leddy was the second best player in this series by a country mile. It was Varlamov and it was Nick Leddy. Nobody even close."
That was right out of Barry's mouth.
Yeah, that was right out of Barry's mouth, and we torched the shit out of him then when he said that, because I'm like, that there's no way in hell you see it like that. I've seen Lazy Letty at work. He's a guy that we know what he is. He's like your high school girlfriend. Every single wart that's on, ugly wart that's about her, everything like that. And I hope we're not going to be in a situation where we break up with the high school girlfriend to try to find a better one, and we get stuck with a worse left-handed defenseman without improving the offensive side of the puck. But I wanted to go back with the Dobson and Kiefer Bellows. Now, Dobson, hey, you're going to have growing pains as a young player. I see great future in Noah Dobson.
Yeah,
what
I do too.
Is that we sit anytime a mistake is made by a young player, we immediately sit them. And I mean, how many time periods in Dobson have 10 minutes at a stretch where he was sitting on the bench, and you say, hey, Kiefer Bellows looked like a generic, plain Jane, just whatever they start out with the NHL.
And they put him on the first line too. That's why I say that.
They scored 3 goals in 4 games.
He
scored 3 goals in 4 games.
I understand. And I know the game you're referencing, and I believe he had multiple goals
2 and 1
in that game, and one of them was a highlight-esque goal.
He's a top 6 winger. He's not a middle 6 guy. He's a top 6.
So
guy.
you could see Wahlstrom play, and you could see it's there. You could see it's there. Now he's slow as Anders Lee right now, but once he can work on that because he's so young, he's got a bullet. And when I say bullet, I'm talking about legendary. His snapshots look like slap shots. It's really something else. Like you do not see this often. He's one of those guys cross the blue line. If he gets a lane through the defenseman's legs, he could literally put that in. It's unbelievable. But you see Bellows, there's no defining at this moment. There's no defining characteristic,
For me, he's never gotten a legit shot, and you can't tell me. Would you rather play him or Travis Zajac or Leo Komarov? See, that's my thing. If you want to give a young guy a shot, give him a legitimate shot, not 4 games.
I'm with you on that.
See,
when the Islanders are in a situation like that, and they're in a situation where you can't put a non-forward like who is offensive minded on a forward line. In that situation, yes, they should have absolutely given him at least a shot. Yes.
And then look at the end of the season, right? Wahlstrom gets injured. All of a sudden, Travis Zajac's in there. Wahlstrom's healthy. He never sees the ice. He's going to ride it with Travis Zajac. Yeah. He has no faith in the younger players. That's frustrating. And with the Dobson situation, you know what? If you play him through everything during the season, don't shelter his minutes. He's teamed up he's playing third line minute anyway. Yeah. By the time you get to the playoffs, he's gone through all that during the season.
I would have to take a closer look at that, but from what I remember during the playoffs, his benchings usually came with under 10 minutes left in the third period with usually 1-goal games. And in that situation, literally you can't make one mistake. This mistake you speak of has to be prevented in those hours. And I understand, though. Play him through any regular season, I would not bench him. But those key games, people forget how razor thin some of those Pittsburgh double overtime. Like, you're talking about the series on the line.
But see, that's my whole point. If you let him grow during the season, he's seasoned when it comes to the playoffs, right? And I will say one other thing. He was real good at the beginning of the year. When he got COVID, his play was not the same the rest of the year. It just wasn't. Dobson.
I noticed that trend. I know we had talked about it too. And here's I'm going to bring up a different point for you.
Don't you like how TJ is so calm and relaxed over there?
No, I need to incorporate some TJ into my life. I got Grumpy. I've been on this earth way fewer years than you, and unfortunately, I'm already matching your energy.
Yeah. As you get older, you lose some of that energy, or so I've heard.
Yours will go down, Grump, year after year. But right now, hey, you're still fine in life. You just recently retired, as you mentioned last one. So, hey, you
want to know something? They called me back today and want to know if I just wanted to work part-time. Today. I retired Friday. They called me back today and asked me if I wanted to go back part-time.
And what'd you tell them? What'd you tell them?
I said, I'll look at the application.
Oh, my goodness. But, the overarching issue I've had with this is we still needed to sign that big fish. And this is something that we've talked about for years and years. I was hoping there was going to be some sort of grandiose plan, but looks like that is not the case. And I just don't want this team in this situation to be something we look back on 5, 6, 10 years down the road when we're going to hit the dark and rough times. And boy, oh boy, will they be dark and rough. But we all understand it now. I don't want us to sit back and think, oh, damn, maybe if we just would have made that one move, maybe if we would have gone a little bit outside the box, maybe if we said, Josh Bailey, Kyle Palmieri, we need to go ahead and make a drastic move. We need a guy who can go ahead and really pick corners extremely well, because Matt Barzal is going to open up space because he's got the speed, and we've got Anders Lee to park his body in front of the net. We need a guy who can pick corners. We need a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko. And if that was us not including Kyle Palmieri, I wanted us to make that move. I think we needed to make a big move.
So I will tell you right now, I think you will believe that's going to be a lot less of the case if our current stable of 6 defensemen is our starting 6 defensemen, because there are no 9 games against Buffalo and Devils to save us this year. The Islanders' defense was considerably worse. Considerably worse. Go ahead, guy at home. Circle the number on your screen in the shortened fake season where you play the Devils 8 games in a row. Watch them against any playoff team. Chances were a flying. Okay? And now you're removing. Now look, Leddy. I thought Leddy was perfect as a third pairing defenseman. You have no pressure on you. Him and Boychuk or him and Green. I loved every minute. Everything was so perfect. And that's why every team was shut under 30 shots. Go look at those playoffs, man. Until they played Tampa, who was a juggernaut. Every game under 30 shots. It's because we had 2 shutdown pairings, and our third pairing used to be our first pairing. Like that's where we were at, and now we're looking at half of that chopped off. God forbid one of the top 2 loses their time. Then what? You throw Mayfield. Who are we rolling out there as our bottom 2 pairs?
I mean, think about it. Right? Last year, Mayfield and Leddy were not good together.
Yeah. And by the way, that was my that was my last seed of proof about Taves, because Taves made it easy to work with. He was so smooth. And then everyone goes, "What's wrong with Scott Mayfield?" And I'm right back there, just pulling my hair out right from the roots.
Yes, I've said that to people. They tell me I'm crazy, but it's true. He made Scott Mayfield a better defenseman by his puck moving and his ability to clear his zone.
Yeah, come playoff time, Scott Mayfield. And by the way, why does he look so better all of a sudden? Because they let more physical play go. The guy just took off Kucherov's ribs. Guess what that is? Game 9, Game 11, Game 20. Penalty. See you later. But his style of play is beautiful for the playoffs, which is why he was great last year, great this year. And regular season, where he's got to play, like hockey, like just more Russian hockey, where you can't be giving people cross checks to the back of the neck, you're going to see him struggle. And you'll probably see it again this year too.
And I don't know how you feel about this. I thought that Pulock and Pelech were nowhere near as good last year during the regular season as they had been the previous year.
Yeah, I'll always give, as a team increases their success, I'll give players the benefit of the doubt. When you go through a playoff run, you know what it needs, so you kind of give. It's like when I used to play people who were beneath me in NHL. All of a sudden, I'd only be up by 1 goal. Meanwhile, I could absolutely drop the hammer on them, double digits. But I'm like doing this kind of thing, And I never mind if players are kind of not wasting any of that juice, because they know what's needed down the line when you're, playing Braden Point, chasing him around for 7 games.
I'm gonna let you respond, Grump. And I have something that Andy mentioned earlier that I thought was a good point that I wanted to bring back up and press a little bit of importance on. But Grump, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, I thought during the season, I saw Pelech in particular walked around quite often during the regular season. And come playoff times, it was a little bit different. And I thought that Pulock was almost playing like he was injured for a lot of the year. Seemed like he didn't have good lateral movement. And, of course, nobody ever said anything. It was just an observation on my part. And like I mentioned, Mayfield and Leddy last year, they were just a bad mix. And it'll be interesting now, though, right? You're looking at Dobson playing on your second pairing with who?
I got Andy a weird Green? Sniff. I got a weird feeling that it's either going to be Sammy Vatanen.
Ah, he said it.
Or no. But my sniff is that freaking Chara's going to want to do a 1-year deal. And when you talk about Mayfield, and this isn't some fan in me talk. I don't care. I'm just saying if he wants to play 1 more year in the Northeast for a contender, because it's something with his family, he said it has to be in the Northeast. So he's not going back to Boston. He's not going back to Washington. What other team is close from there?
Yeah, you're talking maybe any of the New York teams there, the Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. But yeah, he's finished.
Can't play anymore.
If you were to play him on a you come off the bench.
Didn't he play every game last year?
He did. Oh, when we say can't play, man, oh man, how many times you watch the games too? Matt Barzal made him look foolish a few times when we were playing the Capitals. I was like, holy obviously I was like, man, oh man, Barzal's taking a huge step. Maybe I was just like, maybe I was overplaying, the level that Chara still skates at.
He can't skate anymore. He just can't skate anymore. He's 43 years old. I mean, he just can't skate anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to eating regular season minutes, it's just, dude, the regular season, 82 games, it's a blah. Like when the Islanders go on an awful stretch and people are like, oh, but honestly, you can go to sleep for a massive chunk of the regular season. It's the unfortunate truth. But if you hit the playoffs playing the way you're supposed to be playing, it's all out the window.
I was about to say, I'm glad you mentioned that. I wanted to, you mentioned the schedule change. We're not going to be playing, the Devils and the Buffalo Sabres, 8+ games a year like we did last year. That's something that hasn't been talked about too much. We've talked about, hey, we've got a condensed schedule. We've got the Olympics thrown in there. We're going to have the long road streak to start the season. I think it's interesting also you bring up, no longer are we going to be playing some of the cellar dwellers, the worst teams in the NHL for a time period of almost 16 games and a shortened season. We're not going to have that advantage this next year. I think that's a very interesting point. You brought up, hey, how Varlamov set the Islanders franchise record for most shutouts and how we might be singing a different tune. Because you hear that all the time. Varlamov is so this, that's so that. And, I think that's an interesting point you brought up.
However, the flip side, whereas people will try to convince you that the Metropolitan is like some sort of, oh my God, that's good. I think it's the polar opposite. All you're seeing are former Stanley Cup teams that are not even now 1 year. Now it's like they're 3 years past that window. You're worried about the Islanders. They're running they're running the core of the Penguins team from 6 years ago out there. From 2009. That core is being relied on still. And then you have Washington. They looked no different this year when they lost in 5. They are as slow as they come. They've addressed nothing. Pittsburgh and Washington, I will be shocked if maybe they can make the playoffs, but they're done winning series like that. They're done.
Agreed.
And then after that, you have the Devils. You could try to convince me on the Rangers. That's you have to convince me. There's been nothing to show me other than stuff on paper. The Flyers have to. Congratulations, you flipped Voracek for Atkins. You're the same exact team. And Carolina, who anytime they play a real team, they just get waxed in the playoffs. Boston out 5, Tampa out 5. They're the fakest good team that people just keep anointing as great. At least we win series. They swept us. And then after that, they've never done anything.
Well, like I said, you're right. When they play good teams, they want to lose.
No, they would do good against a team like us because they did what we did. Game 1, overtime, 0-0. You're doing that who can stab who first. We had a disallowed goal. They score. And literally that was the game. And a team like that is scary. It's scary. I always love playing a team like Pittsburgh. They're willing. We go down 2-0. Who cares? Just they'll trade chances with you left and right, All
right. Let me now, Andy, you said a lot of things, and I was paying semi-attention, so I'm going to unpack them.
I said too many things. You don't
No, you did. You did not say too many things because I could still remember. Once you go past 3, I can't remember. But you said 3. Now, the thing about Pittsburgh, it's the same old core. I agree that they're not winning championships. But here's the difference between their old core and our old core. Their old core are really freaking talented. Now, I don't think we don't have the talent of Crosby, Malkin, Letang.
But that's it. You just ended the list.
Yes, that's exactly.
Name me more even pretty good players on their team.
Gensel, and Jeff Carter's back.
Yeah,
right?
Gensel. Gensel. But don't forget that top line used to have a 30-year-old Kessel scoring. It had layers coming at you.
Yes. Now I think they're done, but I think that they're going to ride that core until it's finished.
Well, then they're going to enjoy more first-round playoff losses. Is that 3 in a row or 4 in a row?
I don't think it's 4 in a row. I think it is 3.
It's a smile on my face because I know Grumpy absolutely hates the Flyers. I detest the Penguins, so it puts a smile on my face anytime they get the early boot.
I'm trying to think if I have any reason to. Why do you hate the Penguins?
I don't like the Penguins, number one. I've never been a Crosby fan. I think Malkin's he's a chippy fella. And anytime, he'll weenie up, was it the worst? And then he'll be over there trying to start shit with somebody who's about 4 or 5 inches smaller than him.
I've always looked at him like he was a liability. I always liked Malkin because you knew he'd do something stupid, take a double minor, and get you back into the game. I will always have a soft spot for the Penguins because of the early 90s and mid-90s, man. I loved Lemieux Yager, and I loved even the end of Lemieux Yager with their second line, Kovalev, Straka, Robert Lang, and with Kasparaitis back there, a little Islander flair. I'll never be able to fully hate them because of that. Unfortunately.
I was a big Mario. I'm able to appreciate greatness, and to me, Mario Lemieux was just phenomenal.
And we never had to worry about playing them because that was
right. I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, I remember when we knocked them off in '93. Oh my God! They had Kevin. The thing was Kevin Stevens. Getting his face broken.
In
Game 7.
Face smashed by Rich Pilon, actually. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Who's been on this podcast before.
Oh, nice.
And, but he's got
to be a big guy. Something tells me he's just like stocky.
I didn't think he looked too big. I don't remember Richie Pilon being that big.
I don't mean like plumpy.
Stocky.
I mean like,
stocky,
My memory, is hazy grump when it comes to interactions like that.
And then you got Washington, right? What do they have left?
They looked bad, man.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Peter Laviolette was going to be able to do the job, but they had goaltending issues too, right? Is how important it is.
Well, let's do that. Let's do that age game again. How old's Ovechkin? How old's Backstrom? How old's Oshie? How old's every single piece they rely on?
Now, you're just proving my point.
No, because the difference is I just named you every single one of their best players, and I didn't get to say, Barzal and Beauvillier. It's just ancient. We didn't name you one guy in the 20s. That's the big difference.
I think Backstrom is still in his 20s, and so
Backstrom. I was a kid when Backstrom was drafted in like 2005.
I would have told you Jakub Vrana, but they foolishly traded him away and mismanaged him as an asset. I would have said him beforehand, but I mean, Islanders are an older team. You talk about average age; we're going to be 29. I
can't go by the average. If you write down the top 10 players on the team, that's what you look at.
If I'm talking top 10, Brock Nelson's over 30. Andrews Lee is over 30. And here's the thing. I think we've got a finite window. I think we've got 2 years realistically. And I think any fan could say, hey, we've got about 2 years. Once you start turning 32, 33, 34, we're seeing a precipitous decline in performance. So I think we've got a limited time period. I just needed us to make a big move.
It's also contingent on nothing going your way. Tampa Bay did not factor in as their window was quote unquote closing that Braden Point would come in and re-energize the whole team.
I want to talk to you about Tampa Bay. Now you've made a few comparisons to that, and now I think Tampa's got anywhere from 4 to 5 Hall of Fame caliber players on it. And the thing is, when we use them as an example, I just find it tough because that's like him
using Tom Brady as the example. It's the outlier.
He loves Tom Brady, so anytime he gets a chance to mention Tom Brady, it will come up in conversation.
I win every single argument just by using him.
Remember, it's not me. I said he's the best. He was the best.
It was.
There you go. I love it.
You act like people don't like this.
I'll get you a cardboard.
Tom Brady. They don't like him.
Why?
Because he's successful. He's got a supermodel for a wife. They hate him because he's so successful.
I didn't forget about that divorce, though. All right, Jeter never did that.
He never married her. He never married.
I always. But he had a kid. I'll always go, and the rankings were always obvious. It was DiCaprio, Jeter, Brady. Those were the big three.
Oh man! Well, here's the thing. But Jeter used to give all his girls, the gift basket when they left for the night. Mr. One Night Stand.
Hey, right? Look, he addressed that on that Michael K's show. I don't watch too many of those, but I
don't know how he addressed it, but I was aware of the one night stand little gift basket.
Hey, she was really good. Give her the gold basket.
Well, he used that as they were talking about. Well, how do you deal with this? But he goes, people just come out with the most outrageous things. He goes, I'm sure you've heard of the gift basket thing, and he did the best thing you could do. He made light of it, and then, I feel like that's the right way to go about it.
Oh, he was a saint. He was a saint. He was loved. He was beloved by everybody. Saint Jeter.
Here's the thing. What made Derek Jeter this status symbol is. He never said anything controversial, ever.
Yeah.
Never freaking ever.
He was a bomb diffuser. He always knew, because every question, every reporter asked, I would probably fail miserably at this. You could see my personality, but he knew, he's that kind of guy, quiet, takes his time when he thinks. Every time they try to give him some verbal clickbait, that's what I call stuff like that, he would always just diffuse the bomb and it would just fizzle away.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you about this. We're talking about, I know this isn't Islanders specific, but have you happened to see, I'm a Mets fan. So again, I'm a little biased towards Derek Jeter and all those,
that's cool.
all those Yanks. But now, have you happened to see the Javier Baez and the Francisco Lindor throwing the Laboons down? I couldn't think of individuals who are more disconnected from the fan base and from individuals and doing something like that. I mean, it's just known. Hey, when you go up there, just like when you go up on a comedian, if you get booed, hey, it comes with the nature, right? Sometimes you're going to bomb. It just happens. And I always think to myself, I'm like, hey, if I was striking out, if I was hitting 207 and I was getting booed, maybe I should kind of look inwards and maybe improve what I'm doing.
Oh, so just correct me if I'm wrong, because while I can pre-2009 probably go shot for baseball, that sport just became way too boring for me. But because a lot of people I know, I'll see them kind of talk about it. So I saw something about like professionals, I should be allowed to boo. I'm just going to guess that somebody struck out a bunch of times and the home crowd just gave it to him or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So what they were doing is anytime, because I mean Francisco Lindor, Javier Baez, the Mets have been miserable. I don't know what it is now, but
it's been a big slide in the standings, right?
Yeah. And so what the team was doing, they were giving thumbs down to the fans when they were getting hits. So like they hit a home run, they give thumbs down. They get a double, they give thumbs down. They get a single. Hey, I'm going to give thumbs down to the fans.
Wow.
So yeah.
He apologized though. You realize he apologized. The owner comes out.
Because PR came. Well, you can listen to me on this. I know for a fact. I hate to say something like that, but I do know anytime public statements are made, literally somebody else drafts it up. So it's hard for me to say, but he apologized, because I know that wasn't coming from here. But if you're telling me that this guy was he couldn't handle the home crowd booing him, so when he finally got a double, he like booed the crowd by Is that's what happened?
Yep.
Oh yeah!
Wow. So my first thought is New Yorkers. I know New Yorkers. They're carnies. They probably be booed even harder the next time the guy went up.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you don't even need to tell me. I there's one thing I know, and that's dirtbag New Yorkers. Like half the people who are watching this and probably despise me for ripping on Bailey. So I could imagine.
No, I disagree, because I hate on Bailey way worse than you. And
these people have affection for you. They see you every week. When a new guy comes into town, starts ripping on their hero, trust me, I'm a bigger villain than they have in half these Marvel movies now.
All you need is the snidey whiplash mustache, and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, but these are the same people. Islander fans I struggle with, because I have to remember they're like them and their girlfriend go to like a game with like a Matt Martin jersey, and they just cheer for like just crashes against the boards. Like when I watch this stuff, like here's something. It's borderline shouldn't even need to be debated, but the best player in the Crosby era until he retired was Pavel Datsyuk. It wasn't Ovechkin. It wasn't most valuable player. 100 points, best defenseman, shootouts, power play. Every facet of the game was flawless from him. He didn't have one part of his game that wasn't absolutely perfect. Won the Selke when Bergeron was in the league. Took the fewest penalties. That is a true all-around MVP. When Russia went, did they rely? When Russia went to the Olympics up there in Sochi, did they rely on Ovechkin? No. The multiple shootout attempts went to Datsyuk. He ran the power play. He ran the team, and he was that level of superstar. And he made the playoffs every year of his career, and the minute he left, the team hasn't made it since. So you want to define most valuable player, that would be it.
Well, yeah, he was really great.
He's one of
the whole team fell apart though at the same time.
Yeah.
And yep. I mean, they all got old at the same time. They rode that horse as long as they could, and then you'd have to start over, and that's what they've done.
I was just using that as a not to really talk about the team so much, but to illustrate, like I see so many things in his game. But unless it's just like one-timer goals, your average fan just doesn't want to hear. They don't want to hear about how good somebody's gap control is, and stick discipline and puck control and ability to.
That's
it's
but
just
that's,
like you're it's
you bring up Crosby. That's the Canadian media pushing him to the moon. Also,
oh dude, he's
I mean, I'm not saying he's not a
great.
good player,
No,
but
he's great.
But they push him like he's a top 5 player in the history of the game. He's just not.
He's freaking good, man.
He is
He's
good.
Very,
He
very,
is good.
very,
I hate him
very
because
good.
he's good.
Yeah. That wasn't me trying to put the other two down. It was that the fact that like Datsuk wouldn't be up there every year. It's crazy to me. Because
Don't be afraid to put those players down.
do you remember
even the best players?
Do you remember when Ichiro like said, "Oh, if I didn't care about like defense or whatever, when I was swinging for home runs, I could hit 50 home runs a year." He said like he's like I can do it easily if I wasn't hitting for contact. If Datsuk didn't care about those other facets, you think he did get 100 points once, I believe, but you think if he was just doing the old school Russian thing of like digging for points, he could have done that too.
He was like Brian Trottier was for the Islanders in the 80s. That's what he was like. A true two-way player that you can play in any situation. Penalty kill, power play, end of the game, anytime.
Good. So much skill too.
Yep.
It was a pleasure to watch.
Really good.
Oh, the good old Magic Man. Yeah, but you said you don't get along though with Islander fans. Now,
most of them. You have to remember how about this? Where do most Islander fans? How and where are we communicating? Obviously, if I see you on the street, well, I'm not hating on you, but most of it stems from this wasteland, which you guys probably have to live on a little bit, known as Twitter. It's when you read the words, it makes you sick. You know that classic thing when you go to a game and a guy's watching the power play, he's just screaming, "Shoot it." I can't handle people like this. Because that means they don't know oh, you're right. The defenseman who's been waking up every day of his life at 4:30 in the morning and knows exact shooting lanes and what needs to happen to release a shot. You're right. He doesn't know, but Guy in section 325 with an awful view of things knows when to shoot the puck. I can't. And that's a lot of Islander fans. I'm sorry to say it. I call them the carnies. I have a name for them.
Here's the thing. I'm one of those. And I'm going to tell you what.
Look at that. Doesn't mind admitting it. He's one of those.
That's fine. And here, I'm going to tell you why. I'm not like that with everyone, but with Nick Leddy and Josh Bailey pleasuring themselves, passing the puck back and forth, no. And here's the thing. Josh Bailey hasn't scored but 2 power play goals in what? How long?
It's like I know.
155 games?
Ask yourself this. I said it earlier. By what means is he going to score a power play goal?
You got to shoot the puck.
How?
At some point in time, you have to take a shot on goal.
What kind of shot? So when he's having the puck, you're saying just cut to the middle and rip one? Because he can't one-time it. He doesn't have a one-timer. He's
scared to move away from the boards.
So he's got 2 options. Circle high, right? Circle high and then move it to the other defenseman to where the other defenseman can move it back for a shot. He has no shot or one-timer. He only has a wrist shot.
I have something else they can do. Take his ass off the power play.
Hence what I screamed about before. It's not so much the 5-on-5. I mean, he doesn't offer much there, but when you take away, and you know what I love? Every single year, those same people I talk about go, whoa, this power play sucks. And I'm just sitting there like this, just like Beetlejuice, reading the newspaper, and then leaning in like, oh, you say? It's but like what the reasons I listed are A, why I struggle with a lot of those fans, and B, why Bailey kills us. Like he can't, when you say score, you need to be able to shoot. So if you think of Barzal on the other side, when he has the puck, he can do a little fake and open up that little room where he can cut to the middle. Bailey's so slow, he can't do that little juke to buy himself that little time. And his shot release is so slow that it gets blocked. He offers so little. It's so brutal.
Right. Now here's the thing. I don't yell at shoot. I do yell at Josh Bailey to shoot the puck and Nick Leddy because I don't think you can have 2 guys on your power play who refuse. Here's the thing. They just refuse to shoot the puck.
Because they don't have shots.
Well,
they don't have shots.
Matt Barzal is a creator first. He's a pass first guy, but he will shoot the puck. Yep. If you look at the Islander power play the last few years, when Leddy and Bailey have it, the defense just sags off. because they just
know.
won't
Well, but
shoot the
look,
puck.
so part of it is because they don't have deep shots. And what I'm saying is you never see Barzal take a shot from deep. What he does that hard cut to the middle, and he's so fast that the D has to respect it. And if you respect it, now you're coming to Barzal, right? You're closing the distance between you and him, which opens a passing lane, which is that one-timer that you see him make to Eberle a bunch of times if he circles to the other side. But he has the speed and skill to do that. Bailey is slow. He sinks into the ice. So if he does a little thing like that, all he can do is curl into the boards and try to dump it back down, or try to, which is his favorite move, force it through a stick to the other defenseman, and usually it gets knocked out of the zone. You know, it's so predictable that I could watch it like this and tell you what's happening.
Now, you look when Noah Dobson's at the top of the power play when he was
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
He's able, just with the wrist shot,
Yes.
he's able to put the puck on net. Letty would not do that. Just a wrist shot, get it on net, and have something happen in front. If you're no threat to shoot the puck, teams could just lay off you.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, if they can get, I was like, look, if we can't get Tarasenko, can we get a Mike Hoffman? And then I literally uploaded a goal he scored against the Islanders. You need, and Beauvillier has this a little bit, you need a lefty with the threat of a shot in order for that to open up the movement, which will allow that one-timer from the right point, because we have Wahlstrom there and Pulock right there. But everyone will always not just shade one guy, they're going to shade the whole umbrella to the top and that side, because there's no shot coming from the lefty waiting on that side, whether it's Bailey and Beauvillier. It's weird. They don't want Beauvillier like holding the puck. They usually have him as a guy for like a one-timers or like kind of, but he's rarely controlling the puck. But unless there's a threat of that one-timer, you're never going to see those wide open lanes. It's why you see it with Washington, and they keep doing it. And they go, why can't they stop Ovechkin? It's because Backstrom's holding the puck, and they have that little inside threat of Oshie. So they can't just stay away from that. Same thing with Tampa. That's where they keep Braden Point. So if they shade to him, then they move it to Stamkos through the slot. Through the seam, and then he bullets a one-timer, and that's what Pulock should be doing. But we don't have the lefty to make that happen. Kucherov is that guy for Tampa, and Backstrom's that guy for Washington.
Now, I'm just going to say one thing. You mentioned, how you think that would help the difference between Pulock and Ovechkin. The big difference is Ovechkin can hit the net and Pulock just can't.
Okay, well then insert any righty shot you like, whether it's Wahlstrom.
That's exactly right. I believe in putting Wahlstrom. Wahlstrom, yeah, that's his name.
Kyle Palmieri also fits into that spot. He went into it well for the Devils. I'm not advocating, hey, go ahead and dethrone.
He's another righty. You need, because a righty, if he controls the puck on the right side of the ice, you don't have the passing lanes, because you're now you have to just think. A righty has to put it through this angle. A lefty has the whole, you're operating from the outside, so you have an easy lane to the point. But a righty has to go. That's a whole. Then they have to go off the boards, or else it will be intercepted. You need the lefty. That is for Tarasenko. I don't care if he doesn't even play 5-on-5. Trust me, what he will offer on the power play is massive.
True.
And I wanted to bring up one thing. And now we've talked about this before. So now you're maybe suggesting that you think Ryan Pulock also might be able to find his way back on the power play. We expect more than 2 or 3 goals he had last year in the regular season. I mean, the guy. I think it's an interesting point you bring up. I would like to see more production out of Pulock. Again, we've seen him before in the past. It's a point-wise, a career low for him. I was always on the supporting group of, hey, if we could sign him back, let's go ahead and do that as soon as possible, coming off of a down year like that. I wonder what it's going to look like this year if they are able to go ahead and augment some of those ideas.
I got news for you, man. It has less to do about him than it has to do about, I will send you clips after this because Taves, although he didn't have a rocket, he scored multiple goals from the point, and he's a lefty. So they can't just wait over there. So he'd fake the one-timer, back to Pulock, lane to the net. But if I'm a guy and I'm just waiting in front of Pulock, and I'm never going over there, you're never seeing those shots go through. So it looks like, wow, 2 goals all year. It's the buildup, which is what makes that happen. I could send you goals from 2 years ago and opposed to last year, and you just see the guy doesn't even come off him. He doesn't even come to the middle of the ice because they know there's nothing to worry about. you know, and that's what a lot of it comes from. So I wouldn't play him either, you know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Grump. Were you about to say something?
Do we have any comments today?
we do have we got a lot of
man.
comments that I've missed. I'm sure. I apologize in advance. I'm sure I've missed.
There's some guy. I should have never said where I'm from. Some guy's currently just with a flashlight looking around, seeing if he could see a hint of green coming out of somewhere.
Well, they don't know that you're in your dad's garage. And
I told you, my dad lives in Westchester. We knocked
whatever.
out a garage.
Okay, so okay. So where are you now again? What?
I'm in hell right now. I'm not telling you these crazy people where I am. I know crazy people out there.
I was about to say, Grump, you don't want to out them like that. You don't want people coming to him trying to find
Yeah,
him.
what do you do? Why? Because you don't like my point about coaches, so now you want these carnies who are freaking drinking outside the Marriott still after Game 6? You want them to come after me?
Actually, what I was going to say, I've absolutely loved having you on here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I hope I know I get energetic. I hope it doesn't sound too mean, other than when I crushed Bailey's mom and everything, or fake mom, according to you guys. But
yeah,
apologize.
See, I can tell you have not listened to this podcast because you've been nice.
Oh, that's
compared
nice.
to me. Very nice compared to me.
a lot of people. I mean, I've enjoyed it so far. And again, I know I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. If you need to dart, let us know. But we're going to start hitting through some comments like that. And again, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I have missed a lot of the comments. It only stores I think about 100 of them, so I do apologize.
Give this guy a break. Do you want it to be like one of those guys on TikTok if you're younger, or even on any live where they just sit there at the screen, just like? You think that's entertaining to watch, where they just look, I'm from Cincinnati, and cool, I'm from. I think the way he's doing it's a little more entertaining.
Let me just tell you one thing TJ does. The comments that he loses are the ones that are complimentary of me.
We lost that one. Only the ones that try to call grumpy old man out. Those are the
stupid, senile, demented, quit, loser.
Geriatric. Oh,
jerk.
Oh man, and I did want to. And Grump, you'll like to know this. D-Cut, it's his birthday today. Grumpy, I know you want to probably.
D-Cut is a valued member of the Isles Misery Rated R group.
Holy shit! Look at that, Grumpy.
You got it right. And let me tell you something. I love pumping them up. They're loyal followers of the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. TJ likes to slam them. Well, actually, he doesn't like to slam them. He just throws them a little shade by pumping up some of these little glad-hander Islander sites, the ones who don't like us, who don't support us. Because why? Because we don't toe the company line. We're not part of the media cartel that the Islanders like. We speak truth. Truth to power here.
Oh, really? Is that the truth?
Truth. True.
I'll tell you that is.
Let me hear from TJ. I've heard how you spin some things.
I kid you not, and this is just something that Grumpy old man and myself do, and the amount of supposed impact that we could have or have had blows me away every which time, because I don't think there's too much that we do besides just talk Islanders and talk hockey. We've got some comments I do want to go ahead and get to. Mario said the issue with the Beauvillier contract is the years. As you mean to tell me Casey Cizikas 6 years and Palmieri 4 years are more important to the team than Beauvillier, because that's a message I'm getting from these contracts. I won't say it's that, Mario, and I'll let Andy and Grumpy old man chime in on this. I think the reason they had to sign him to a short-term deal is because they want to do anything they can to keep the team together without trying to take a step backwards, because you can't pay Anthony Beauvillier for a 7-year or 8-year deal like you ideally would like, because of the structure we're currently in. We couldn't afford to do that.
Yeah, I'll tackle that and I'll let you, Andy. He's not worth an 8-year contract. I'm sorry, he's not. Not at this point in his career, he's not. But what does it say? The bigger thing that it is, the overarching thing is, the Islanders don't value young players like they do the older guys. The older guys always get the years. The younger guys don't. They did buy out 1 year of unrestricted free agency for Anthony Beauvillier. He supposedly, from what I heard, wanted longer term. They gave him 4 years. I don't know. For me, 6 for Casey, way too much. Kyle Palmieri, like I said, I'd much rather not sign him and made a trade for Tarasenko. With a shortened window, if you're going to go for it, go for it. Don't just be Lou Shampoo and just bring everybody back. Shoot the moon.
So, but you're operating under the those are two different planes you're talking about. You're talking about unrestricted free agency, where the players have full freedom, and then you're talking about restricted free agency. Like, you have to understand, the more years you add to a restricted free agents deal, the higher per year it's going to be, because the restricted free agents are actually strategically negotiating the term to become unrestricted at the perfect time in their career. So Beauvillier may have wanted fewer years. The same way Barzal didn't want an 8-year deal right now. He wants the mega deal when this current deal expires. Beauvillier is willing to say, okay, 4 for 4, but if you want it to go 6, I can tell you what, the number you're looking at is not that, because now he knows his unrestricted free agency date is 2 years down the road, which means, no, I have to make sure I'm getting the necessary money for those years. That's why it's cooked into it, because now he knows he will be a UFA at the prime point in his career to take a massive contract as long as he does what he's supposed to do. You give him a 6-year deal, you're looking at what did they give him? 4?
They gave him like 4.1. He was usually
you're looking at minimum 5.5, 6.
Yeah,
minimum. If 6 years, that's what you're going to have to give him.
First of all, he doesn't deserve that at this point in time. I was surprised they were able to buy out 1 year of unrestricted free agency though, for that money. I will say that.
Yeah. So that's because what it is. Not so much like you can't treat unrestricted and restricted the same, because there's no leverage on the other side for unrestricted.
Rob L saying Grumpy thinks his shampoo puts pressure on Lou. Lou could care less about your opinion. Grump, did you know that?
It's true. He does not care about my opinion. That's why we're not going to win a Stanley Cup.
Oh man. You know what, Grump? I don't know if you're going to be able to peddle that shampoo product. This might be dead in the water for you, Grump.
We'll see. I bet it's more popular than you think.
D-Cut's saying, if you put this guy's hair on my head, I'd be on the cover of the GQ magazine. I think that's a compliment paid to you, Andy. A nice set.
Is. I was gonna mention Andy's hair.
I know for a fact he definitely suppressed a couple of the not so nice ones. He had to dig deep for one of those nice ones, but I'll take it.
Hey, you're getting take compliments the way they come. I tell you.
Let me tell you something. Anytime anyone comes on this podcast who has nice hair, and you have nice hair, well, it's full anyway. So anytime that you come on with hair like that,
quick backhand.
Don't worry, I'm good at that. But here's the thing. I'm jealous, right? You can do anything to your hair. It doesn't matter. It comes back. If I do some shit like that with my hair, it ain't coming back. I can't do it. I mean,
we're unofficially sponsored by Rogaine. This podcast usually is unofficially sponsored by Rogaine. So if they ever
brought that upon yourself, TJ, by having that camera high up so people see the top of your skull. That's why I kind of do a low shot. You know what I'm saying?
Trying to improve quality, our quality, Grump. I don't know what to tell you.
I was going to comment on Andy's hair earlier, but I'm like, you know what? Grumpy, I'm going to wait and let somebody else do it.
I got news for you. Give it another 2 years. This live stream we're on, these filters that you see, it's going to be so advanced, you're going to look like it's 1988 all over again, assuming you had decent hair then.
I think, I did have, a matter of fact, I used to get my hair permed. I had a little mullet action going on back then.
Yeah, I know. I heard about when you used to watch videos of John Travolta before you went out on Saturday night. I understand.
Oh. That was 1977, okay? That was 1988. I remember then, too. I'm way older. Now, Andy, how old are you?
I'm just playing, man. I'm a little older than you might think.
I know you are, just by saying the 90s, that you remember those Islander teams, those Penguins teams.
Yeah. I mean, I was young, but I watched that Volok game. I'm 35.
35. Okay. Yeah. You're a little bit older. You're right. You look good. What can I tell you?
Thank you. A lot of cream.
Yeah, no problem. No comment on how that cream, where it comes from, how you get it there. I don't care. It's okay.
Hey man, remember I'm in a slightly different line here. You know, I do a weekly podcast, and I do all these videos that I shoot. The last thing I need are these Gen Z kids making me feel like shit. So at least I gotta,
I'm not even allowed. Now you mentioned Twitter earlier. I don't even have a Twitter account.
It's a miserable place. Stay off of it.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to.
It's a
TJ says I'm not allowed to.
It's a miserable place.
I don't even know what you do if you had access to Twitter. I was about to say, Andy. And again, remind me the name of the segment. It's I caught you or I got you. Oh man, I'm blowing.
Why don't just let Andy tell us?
Don't worry. Which
I'm talking about your shorts, which we find on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, I know what you did.
I know what you did. Damn it! I knew. I should have written it down.
That's typical TJ in a freaking nutshell, screwing up somebody.
I do these mini funny exposés. Like I did one about how Reels is like the green text message version of TikTok, and I did one on all the clickbait you see on Instagram, and I did one on. I give them these funny, but the brand awareness Backstreet girls who won't upload pictures of their boyfriend to give the illusion that they're actually still available, so that more people follow them. It's a whole, and they're all comedy things. Like they're not,
I like the ones who take their shirts off and people will follow them.
No, I'm not about that. I'm about.
No, I'm just saying those
getting
girls.
them with this.
No, I'm saying those girls you were talking about. I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
true.
I was about to say, I like the ones where you're talking about the breadcrumbs and on Tinder and Bumble and all that.
Oh, that's completely different, my man. That is. I've been working on this thing. It's the I Know What You Did online dating special, and what I was doing on Instagram, I was just trickling out each profile. Like for example, the breadcrumbs girl. And then the different kind of accounts you'd see, but that's actually part of a longer piece that I'm going to upload, that's like, 15 to 20 minutes long. But I thought to trickle out all those little pieces along the way.
I'm one of those users. I was about to say, he does it smart. I'm sorry, Grump. We don't, I'm not.
No, not we.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, because you know what struck a chord with me? You guys saying, whatever the powers that be who kind of, no, I'm not kidding. So when I started making, that's the stuff that you talk about, like my I Know What You Did segments, I did like movie parodies, which are pretty funny. I was getting 150,000 pops per click on it. Then all of a sudden, something precipitous happened where they will not show my stuff to a lot of people. And I guess some of my stuff, a good amount of it's like anti-PC, and I know, but really, I'm not that unreasonable. Like I'm not, some maniac. So that's why. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating to kind of fight against, swimming against the currents. I feel like that's what I'm doing, because when they gave me an opportunity, I was killing it. And then I don't know if people complained or something, they kind of yanked the rug out from under me, and it's so hard to like get exposure. It's so wacky. So that's why it struck a chord with me when you said that, man.
And I don't. And the thing is, I'm one of those guys too, where I'll watch the TikToks, but I watch them on Instagram, so I haven't like migrated over to. I just started a TikTok in March. That's because I got a 20-year-old brother. Got a comment here from Eddie. Great energy this episode. Bring this dude back. Okay, thanks there, Eddie. We'll make sure again. Andy's always welcome on here. I tell you, the energy I've seen there. And a little bit of the debate back and forth makes my job pretty easy. I just sit here and let you guys talk it out.
Well, that's what you're best, not talking.
So I do a weekly podcast called You're Still Here, and I don't have anybody. I'm one of those New York ranters, and I just take this microphone and I've been doing it since January, so it's not hard for me at all. I was
listening to the Price is Right segment. Oh man, I could not believe they make them refilm The Price is Right if they didn't catch it right.
Yes, I would decline. Yeah, that was different. So yeah, I hopped on there, tried to do it live for people who don't listen to podcasts. But yeah, it's true. It's true. If you are not chosen, or they do not like the way you run down on The Price is Right, like, hey, grumpy old man, come on down. And if you actually come down like a grumpy old man. What are those? The Shooter McGavin pistol points? Yeah, I guess you really were watching Saturday Night Fever before.
I remember Saturday Night Live when it first came on.
So if they don't like the way you shuffle down there, they make you refilm your entrance after the show. So you just lost every single round. You never even got on stage because you're an awful bidder of prices. Then they make you do it again. And what I was suggesting on the podcast is I would refuse. They have nothing to entice me or offer me anymore. I know I'm a loser. There's no magic second chance at this. I would refuse the second rundown and make them use the version where I'm semi-miserable.
Oh man, yeah.
So there you go. If you like the most moronic, thought out concepts like that, you can enjoy my podcast.
And I was about to say, again, everything is in the link in the description below, so you can make sure you see that. Got a few comments here. And again, I missed some, and I apologize for that, ladies and gents. Got a comment here from Hockey Hound Show saying, Cizikas was offered $5 million from Seattle, so that should say something about where the Islanders are now. Oh, see, now this.
Total disagree. Total disagree.
Hold on there, grumpy old man. This is something that was supported around by fellow colleagues, fellow peers of ours, Grumpy, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. They went ahead and posted saying he was offered $5 million. I will say it's a little deceiving. I said, it's moving the field goal post a little bit, because he said if it would, what it would take to get him to Seattle was $5 million. Maybe he just didn't want to play for an expansion team. Maybe if he was still competing for a competitor, he'd say, all right, I'm willing to lower that. But if he said, I'm going to an expansion team, it'd take about $5 million a year. I think, honestly, Casey wanted to stay here no matter what. He wanted to, begin his career as an Islander, wanted to retire as an Islander. There was no way he was leaving.
And I'm going to tell you what, Seattle wasn't offering him 6 years at $5 million. That much I can guarantee you.
One thing I forgot to mention on all this, and this is a major point that you can't just dismiss. The salary cap does go up. We're in this random year where it doesn't. Do you know what 2.5 looks like in 5 years from now? Take contracts from 5 years ago and apply them. Like when you have it's just simple math. It's a percentage of your salary cap. In 5 years from now, that Cizikas contract is going to be less,
Oh yeah,
garbage.
I don't mind. I thought
all those, by the way, all those contracts that you showed before. Remember, they're all going to look less bad in 4 years.
I didn't mind the 2.5. I was actually happy about that. If 6 years, I just kind of kicking it down the road. Yeah. But that's what all general managers do. Hey, I want to go. Lou's not going to be here in 6 years, so it doesn't really matter the impact. We'll be in a rebuild or some sort of retooling time period around that bit. So he doesn't really care too much about that. But
I will agree with you, TJ, that he just didn't want to leave New York. He wanted to stay here with the Islanders. There was never a risk of him leaving. None. And
I would like to know, they trickled out that was the Seattle deal. I would have loved the standard, Dallas actually offered him to. I would like to know a non-Seattle team offer, because that's more the norm. Seattle knows they got to play that. They got to pay that, inflation price
premium
for me wanting to go to your, startup team.
But the Kraken.
Grump, we lost this comment. Jason C said, "In Grumpy we trust." We lost that one. I do apologize, Grump.
Thanks for finding it again, TJ. Thank you, Jason.
I know. I had to search through the archives. Jerry Springer said, "Boy, also my 5-year-old son, first day kindergarten, Islanders fan in the making. Give young Zachary a shout." Grump, I know you do this so well. I'll let you go.
Yes, congratulations, Zachary. I hope you had a great first day of school and kindergarten. The best is ahead for you. Your dad's fantastic, and I look forward to when you're listening to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, and we can indoctrinate you properly.
Let me ask you something, Grump. Do you think Jerry Springer is going to go ahead and cut that, and young Zachary is going to listen to that kind of like every year as he gets ready for a new school year? He's going to listen to that little motivational pep talk, Grump?
Only if he wants to scare his kid in the future.
There was something interesting now I was thinking about before I jump more into the comments. Now, this is something that was brought up to me. And I'm thinking a little bit down the road. Maybe it's dangerous for me to go ahead and do this, but I still wanted to. In an ideal scenario, Oliver Wahlstrom should be able to step up into top 6 role. Maybe not this year, maybe the year after. So 2022, 2023. Yep. And the item I was thinking about, if that's the case, Oliver Wahlstrom steps into a top 6 role. What's going to happen with either Bailey? I assume Bailey's going to get bumped down to the third line. Now you're going to have a third line where your center's making roughly about $5 million. Josh Bailey's making about $5 million. And who knows what's going to be on the left wing. And I was just thinking, what are going to be the cap implications next year? And I know, some of you might say, I'm just worried about the now. But it's something I was thinking about.
Eventually, that's what happens when you give guys in their 30s contracts for 5 or 6 years. They're not going to be able to play at the higher level. They're going to have to drop down, and then you're going to wind up paying your lower lines, exorbitant sums. I mean, think about the fourth line. They were getting paid for a fourth line over $10.5 million a year.
When does Clutterbuck come off the books?
Next year.
This year is his last year.
All right, so you also have to factor in these things. And finally, I will, you know what, I'm gonna come on. I don't even care if you guys are here. Your windows there will be black. I'll be sitting here. Thomas Hickey's out of here, celebration day, and I'll be doing it in a year from now. Oh wait, isn't Komarov gone?
Leo, hey, I saw the video people are throwing out there. Leo,
No, 1 year from today. You're asking about 1 year from today. True or false? 1 year from today, Clutterbuck, Komarov, and Hickey are all gone.
Is Komarov?
We're not gonna get so we're gonna stab the Islanders left and right, but we're not gonna say, hey, that's a good chunk of age. Then all of a sudden you're not gonna be able to give me these, oldest team in the league, because you're shuffling off 3 old guys right there, and you're shuffling off their salaries.
But here's the thing, you know what they're gonna do? They're going to sign some other.
Oh, we can't do that. Oh, yeah, and you know what? Guess what? When I walk out my door, I'm going to meet a 10 and get mad. You can't just do that because there's no actual
I can, because
proof.
I've watched them do it year after year. Travis Zajac. They say they want to bring Travis Zajac back. 36 years old. Why? I don't know.
Said I wanted to do a lot of things, but until that actually happens,
when they put young guys in the lineup, that's what you can say.
So I do want to bring it up. Yeah, that is good that those guys are coming off the books. I'm not going to congratulate them that they are now.
No, it's a slight answer to your question. Like, what are we getting? Well, it's a little bit there.
We got to sign back Ryan Pulock as well. And if I'm thinking to myself, all right, Noah Dobson, he'll be restricted free agency. He's not going to command a lot, albeit. But, if I'm thinking long-term down the road, it does give us a little bit more cap flexibility, but we're going to have to fill those spots. And again, Leo, thank God, when he's gone, I'll be happy. Same thing. Cal, excellent warrior, but you got to feel like his quality of life.
Ross Johnston is coming off the books too, so.
Freaking Ross. Don't get me started on Ross Johnston. Also want to go ahead and bring this up here, and I'll be right back with you guys. Mike L is saying Beauvillier can score 30 goals. Now
he's right.
Over a year and a half.
I don't know how you can watch his play and say, when he goes through one of those streaks, how do you think the guy can't score 30? And I'm not some fanatic. I'm just seeing what I watch. Like, he has good shooting ability. He gets ample power play time. He plays with playmakers. This was a weird shortened season. Give the guy 82 games. They're 30 goals is not like some massive number. Like 30, once you start getting to 36, 37. But, I saw Mark Parrish score 30 goals, but before the lockout when nobody scored. Jason Blake scored 40 goals. That bum.
Yeah, well, those times have changed. That was before the butterfly.
I know. Now there's more scoring. There's way more scoring now.
Well, I just think if anyone scores 30 goals for the Islanders with Barry Trotz as coach, that's an anachronism. I'm just going to say that. No one scores that many goals. Now, the problem with Anthony Beauvillier, and I love him, by the way, he's streaky. He can score 10 goals in 3 weeks.
Many good goal scorers are. That's all the way to the top. To the top.
And I will say he could probably score 30 goals in probably like a year and 2 months.
You told me that when you started listing off those great players on Pittsburgh, you went right to Malkin. I cannot think of a more enigmatic player who will be an MVP of one round and have 0 points in the next round other than Evgeny Malkin. That's just a truth about many scorers. So if a guy scores 30 goals, there's a good chance a lot of it could come in a quarter of the season. That's many goal scorers,
Well, but Malkin scored over 100 points. I think he's been a league MVP.
I know.
There's a difference.
But what I was trying to say was that repeats itself all the way up to the top. That's a thing that happens. Malkin's not some guy. Game 1 is just like game 82. He is as enigmatic as they come. So, when you talk about a 30 goal scorer, it's not like one comes every 4 games.
That's true.
I would love it. I'd love it if Beauvillier hits 30 goals. It's one of those things that,
I don't think Andy likes.
It's not that you'd have to sell me why. What doesn't he do?
He doesn't score 30 goals a season yet.
See, but I don't like this because the thing is that this is the Carney Islander fan. I don't like him. Why? Because I grew up from a town and I hated people like him. No, but he has the speed. His shot is hard. He has one-time ability, gets power play time. All the elements are there. If he had no shot like Bailey, I'd say he'd have to get more assists. But he has the ability.
I would say the reason why I don't think he'll score 30 goals is because he's the creator on that line.
That's not true.
Who's the creator on that line?
I think that he is the creator on the line. I think Brock Nelson, not so much. Okay, well,
Nelson's a shooter.
Josh Bailey a little bit. Josh Bailey does thread some nice passes.
That's the one thing he does. That's the one thing he does is finds people who are open.
If
he finds somebody to make the pass to set up the goal. He's the king of the secondary assist.
I'll let this one go on its own. He's one of those naturally progressing players. How could you watch a player like Brock Nelson who slowly turned into what he is and not think that Beauvillier, who you saw you think that stretch just came out of nowhere against Florida in the beginning of the playoffs next year? Think that's just gone? No, he's somebody who's getting a little bit better every year. He's exactly what you want to see.
But he was terrible the beginning of the year, and that line was invisible. The beginning of last year.
How did we start the year? In an empty building in Madison Square Garden, they had to moonwalk wearing a mask to the LIRR. It's a weird year. Allow him to play 82 games.
No. I can't let you get away with that, because in the playoffs, when he was scoring a bunch of goals, they were also playing the empty stadiums too. He just struggled at the beginning of the year.
But this was a weird year. The year was shuffled. It started in January. Come on. No, there is a certain level of routine. Hockey players are all about routine. Allow one more year. And if he doesn't even hit 26, 27, 20, something in that vicinity, then maybe I'll be with you. But it's unlikely a guy like him who's going to get many opportunities, because it's not like he doesn't have the time. You say a guy like Wahlstrom, we don't first line. He's cemented in on his top six role and his role on the power play. The opportunity's there.
And I'll say that for another podcast. The fact is, where everyone's going to play on every single line. There is no competition for open spots.
That is one conceptual item that I've always had an issue with. And again, if you were looking at the lineup day one, if you're a younger player, and again, albeit there aren't many that I think could fight or vie for a spot, I'm a Otto Koivula honk. But if you're a younger player in Bridgeport and you look at the lineup the way it's currently constituted, you think to yourself, it doesn't matter what I do in camp, I could throw up 50 goals and 50 assists in a matter of 10 games in preseason. Doesn't matter what happens, the lineup's already cemented in. I've never been a big fan of that. And it's the reason why, Andy, you're going to agree with us on this. It's the reason why Devon Taves, after shoulder surgery, spent half of the year down there in Bridgeport, despite having the best preseason. He still spent half the year down there in Bridgeport until Thomas Hickey got injured and he finally got his chance, even though he was ready to step up immediately into that role. It's the same reason why Lucas Spiza played 9 games and Adam Pelech didn't start the season when Barry Trotz originally came. That type of slow inability to immediately put the best player in always drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Best players play.
I agree. I agree with you on that. The flip side is, the fanboy Islander fans convincing themselves a guy's better than he is. I have news for you. Dobson, you see some things. If you want me to start sending you clips, he makes atrocious errors in assignment, gap, so many. And I get it, but just at least say, you know what, this sucks, what's happening right now. But you can't go too far one way, just fanboy the new name, the young guy, the bellows. They have to look the part, there has to be that right balance. Yeah, don't suppress talent that's showing itself, that's oozing out the guy, but then also don't defend people who aren't meriting the proper amount of time.
I agree with you. We could do something like that. I think we do. Younger guys always get a little bit of a longer leash with me. For certain, I do. Hey, that's the fan. That's the inner fan coming out. I agree that I do something like that occasionally. It's a reason why I still fan Otto Koivula. It's a reason why I still liked, oh, man, who is that Swedish goaltender?
I got you, Grumpy. You know what you are?
Tell me.
You're a +1 guy. Every age you just added 1 to. You added 1 to every single one. Palmieri, Pageau, Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson's 29.
Palmieri, okay, he's going to be 30. He's going to be.
That's 30 fine. That's fine. Pageau 28. Palmieri 30.
Okay.
It's so funny.
Look when their birthdays are. Look, their birthdays are in October.
Yeah, I did.
Birthdays in October.
When the season beforehand. I just looked at it. If they were born in October, I think a few were October 14th, October 2nd, 15th. Yeah. I said, hey, by the season start, they're going to be it. I didn't include any November birthdays like your Mayfields or anything like that.
So, for example, 31 is a prime playing age, and right now Brock Nelson's 29. I look at that you have 3 prime years of him. 31, nobody dips. I've never seen a player dip at the age of 31 years old. That's usually somebody's perfect prime,
not really good players. They play good when they were really young.
Are you nuts? Go look like Patrick Kane. His best years are from like 28.
Patrick Kane's been great since he come in the league. He won a Stanley Cup in 24. Come on.
I understand he won it. Okay, what year did he lead the league in points and was most productive?
Oh, geez. Now you're going to make me look this up. TJ, you look that up.
Okay, I'll get it.
You hit a button. You hit a hot button because TJ.
That's fine. That's fine. But just look at these players. I don't understand. You think that their best years are in their early 20s?
I'm going to say in their mid-20s. Look at the numbers Matthews is putting up.
All right, how about this? Name me any player then that's in the league now who's still playing in the 30s. You know? And then we'll see which years were their best.
So we're
look at Patrick Kane.
Okay.
He's in his 30s. Look at Jonathan Toews.
I'm happy to do it.
Look at Kopitar.
Patrick Kane's still a guy where he was in his mid-20s. He was putting up about a point a game average, and now he's still doing the same, if not a little more. Again, I think when we're using outliers of first ballot Hall of Fame guys, we talked about, hey, we don't want to cherry pick. I think
Patrick Kane has over 2 seasons over 100 points, both in the last 5 years.
Okay, how old is he now?
He's 33. He's going to be 33 years old this year.
Yes.
Okay, so he was putting them up when he was in his 20s as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, that's what I said. Late 20s.
You said 31.
31. I said
31.
I said you have 3 prime years of Brock Nelson.
I think we saw the prime of Brock Nelson last year, this year. I think maybe we got a year or two more. Brock is a guy.
Oh, by the way, I'm just sorry. 84 points last year. I'm sorry, 66 points in 56 games, 84 and 70, 100, and then 110. He's last 3 years, 100-point pace, 3 straight years.
So what was he doing? What was he doing? What was he doing when he was 27?
Not that.
Well, what was he doing? You're obviously looking at it.
Okay, I'm looking at it, but I'm telling you, 0 100-point paces, 0. Okay.
He was winning Hart trophies when he was 27, but I don't want to get.
League of AP when he's 27, he ain't getting that now.
I don't want to derail it too much because here's the thing. I ask this question. I'm going to ask Andy this question. You try to mischaracterize me, grumpy old man, every time I bring this back up. I had said, and I want to get Andy's opinion on. I had said when Barry Trotz originally took over that Anders Lee, keeping him on that team was more important. He was a more valuable player that year than Patrick Kane or a guy of Patrick Kane's ilk would have been for the Islanders that year. I believe that Anders Lee, when we were going through that change, was the antithesis of what it was to be an Islander. You talk about the culture. I think he is, they talk about Captain America, everything like that. He was Captain Islander. And I thought that he was extremely crucial to keep on that team that year. I want to get your opinion on it. I mean, this is 3 years in the making. We talked about this. It's almost like a running gag. Anybody comes on a podcast, we ask him.
So, it's just my opinion. I'm not.
That means he's agreeing with me.
I already gave you a kind of mini version of this before when I said ask how much that leadership did for Callahan and Drury and stuff like that. The Islanders only signed Anders Lee because Artemi Panarin, who the big contract rightly should have been offered to, turned them down, and Anders Lee was the backup plan. And the problem is there's no evidence on your end that's the problem with the leadership, other than the Magic, but they made the playoffs. And then I guess this year would be my ultimate counter. Well, they just won multiple playoff rounds in actual stadiums without him. And Artemi Panarin would make this team, if like you swap Panarin for Anders Lee, they're a better team. And I don't want to hear, I saw him slam the locker room, and then the Islanders lost by 10 goals in Game 6. So, I just don't believe in that stuff. I don't. That some player was like, you know what? I'm kind of going to give like a effort 7 today, and then Anders Lee walks in. You know what? Better do a 10. It's just, I don't believe in that stuff.
I believe the culture that it is. And again,
stop selling it. No one thinks that Anders Lee even sniffs. He doesn't even sniff the unwashed jockstrap from 6 years ago of Patrick Kane. There is no comparison between them.
Wait, why are you bringing up Kane? That doesn't happen.
It was an arbitrary topic that we talked about.
Patrick Kane against Anders Lee.
And
I said every GM would rather have Patrick Kane over Anders Lee.
TJ, you got to pick a different comp than Patrick Kane. You got.
I had
got to
said
come
that
down
he
the
was-
bench a little.
I said he was so important to the team. And again, I'm a big believer in, hey, Grump, you could shake your head all you want. And Andy, again, you want to say that it's not that important. I don't believe that, hey, they tent up and they fly right. I'm a big believer in strong leadership in a locker room can cure a lot of issues. It can cure deficiencies across the board. It can cure issues when you're going through ups and downs throughout the season. I believe that is the reason why the Islanders have been so successful under Trotz too. They've got the leadership in the locker room, and they're a tight-knit group. If we weren't as tight-knit, I don't care. Trotz's system would not work as well as it has.
There's no proof, though, that wouldn't have been instilled without Andersley. Like when you saw things like Josh Hosang, who had a lot of offensive talent to offer, but his inability to be trusted and then refused to be given a chance, and then bringing in somebody like Pajot, that type of player. And I know you're talking about the time before that, but you slowly would have seen this built regardless, because the organization, yes, Andersley shares that same type of, whatever you want to call that, as the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no evidence that it wouldn't have been there without him, unfortunately. That's the problem. Like it's just one of those things. If you believe it, there's no way you can kind of say that, because you can't show me something. You can just kind of like, it's too fairy tale-esque for me, that stuff. It just is,
And again,
it's like a Skip Bayless thing where he's like, oh, but I saw the look in his eyes. Oh yeah, did you Skip? Not you. You're one of the very kind dude. But
now here's the thing. That's Andy's way of telling you you're just full of crap.
No.
He was so nice.
No.
He was so nice.
He did have I thought he had a very
nice.
He put it in a very couth manner where it was like, no, it's
he did.
I don't mind.
TJ Zageno, you're the one who I have to throw left hooks to.
Well, that's why I knew. I knew as soon as I saw you talk, I'm like, he's on my side, because if he wasn't, he would have hopped all over me. But see, I know. That's fine. Don't worry about that. I believe in that. See,
but it should go to show you, though. It should instill confidence in you. I'm not just going to go against Grumpy. Speaking of Skip Bayless, it's not like you say peanut butter and I say jelly. Like if I'm on your side, I'm on your side.
Right. See, and I've actually agreed with like one thing that Andy said. I think it was about his hair. No, only kidding. But
no, I trust me. I got thick skin. You can say whatever.
No, I'm just playing.
So since we're hitting on every single controversial topic, never mind, Grump. I was just going to ask him what he thought about Josh Hosang. You and I are both very opinionated on the situation and mishandling. But if he doesn't want to touch on it, we don't have to. I just know that's a situation that usually stings deep with people, and either you're totally for it, totally against it. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't find it's just like the Bailey lovers and haters. You're never going to find somebody riding the fence on Josh Bailey. You're never going to find somebody riding the fence on the Josh Hosang situation.
I will say that when I saw him play in person, before Trotz got there, I mean, he was impressive to watch skate and control the puck. But I do understand at the NHL level, there's very little winging it, and that works out great in the end. He was a big wing it kind of guy, and it is entertaining to watch. There is no doubt when I watched that guy, you saw skill level. Skill level doesn't. Oh, your boy Shrimp.
I'm Shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like a roller hockey wizard. He could do everything known to man with his stick. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to go into an NHL lineup and do everything that needs to be done. But Hosang was something to watch. There you go. Nobody rides the fence. I guess I'm your first fence rider. I know he had skill, but when you saw the team play structured and they were getting in low-scoring games, it's not about. That's why I told you before the Tarasenko thing's not going to be important if you see the Islanders start letting up all those goals. You're going to forget about that instantly if the Islanders' defense starts to sag.
If your defense starts to sag, then you're going to have to try to score more goals. I mean, but here's the thing. My thing with Hosang was that, and I remember him first starting out too when he was playing with Doug Waite was the coach. He had tremendous chemistry with Brock Nelson, just tremendous. I think that was the best offensively that Brock ever looked. Their chemistry was undeniable. They came in, and I knew he wasn't going to work out for Barry and Lou, and they said, you know what, we haven't seen. We've heard things about him, but we haven't seen them, but we're going to send him down to work on them.
I'm gonna switch topics with you. Speaking about coach talk, because I believe that was an example of coach talk. Do you guys remember? And maybe you remember this, Andy. When we originally signed back Anders Lee, we heard from Lou Lamoriello that it was always the plan, no matter even if we got promoted, we would always bring it back Anders Lee. Do you believe that some fans believe that line of garbage? And you just think to yourself, I'm like, man, oh man, I mean, can we add it up? I mean, 11 million or whatever we were going to offer Panarin, and then the 7 million we had to pay Lee. It doesn't add up. We would have been on
you
the
have
cap.
to realize. Here's how and there you go. I told you I don't see eye to eye with a lot of Islander fans. I look at them as orcs lining up at Lord of the Rings. You're trying to actually convey the thoughts, but you don't understand, sir. There's 100, and you have the number 8 and the number 9, and they're just screaming in a line. There is no negotiating. There is no speaking any sort of sense. They want to scream emotional stuff at you, which is hypocritical coming from an emotional guy, but they don't want to speak any sort of logic. Like that bottom right DraftKings lineup. You have a salary, and your players have to fit under that salary. These maniacs would just keep hitting enter on the most highest paid player, and they'd hit enter, and it won't go through. And they're just that to me, that's many Islander fans.
Islander fans, ladies and gentlemen, you can find Andy's information down in the description below. Don't forget to go ahead and check him out.
You know what I love, though? I love that 9% of them that's like, oh, my God, finally, somebody knows how I'm feeling as I get my car keyed outside of Nassau Coliseum because one of my friends was wearing a Flyers jersey.
Oh, is that a real experience you had? I feel like that's really specific.
Oh, dude. So I had a Flyers fan friend, but he's from New York, and definitely I seen people car key. We're not gonna look if you are the podcast that's like supposedly we kind of get excommunicated because we give it to you. Don't lie to me. You know the stuff that happens in the Nassau Coliseum. That's the least scary of the things you see in that parking lot. Like I told you, people are still tailgating there.
I love it. Coach Tommy B, who was checking the trash cans of Lou Lamoriello. He's our local evening janitor, which is giving us the man with the inside hand. Nobody wants Tarasenko, and this is for you, Grumpy. Jeremy F. said, how old is Tarasenko, Grumpy old man?
I think he's 29, I think.
Yeah.
29.
And now it should be 3 shoulder surgeries, 3 years of surgery. No thanks. He's not a Lou or Islanders type of player.
He had 2 years of injuries.
He's not a Lou type of player. Not like he played on a defensive team and was their lone star as they went to the Stanley Cup and won it. No, definitely wouldn't work. Definitely wouldn't work in that system.
He
definitely not motivated. Definitely not motivated to get his next contract. Definitely not. No way.
Yeah.
No
That's
way.
the guy.
Who would ever want that?
That's a guy that I roll the dice on over a Palmieri.
Of course. Remember, you could be right. Oh, that sucks. And he's gone in a year and a half. Like, that's part of why it's so alluring. You don't have to, we're not giving him a new contract. We're just saying, you know what? This is the one thing we kind of need. And nobody's more motivated than a guy who's playing for his next contract, his last big contract.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he can prove he's still good, he's a free agent at 31. And you just saw Palmieri at 30 get $5 million, I believe. Now, Tarasenko, if he reestablishes some sort of worth, he'll get 6.5 based on previous performance and the fact that he proved he could stay healthy. So
I'll say he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid out the ass. I'll tell you now. I've always believed if he was on a line with Barzal, he would open up so much space, and you have Lee occupying / screening the goalie. He could pick those spots, and man, oh man, it's a wet dream for Tarasenko if he can find his way over here.
And that other guy, nobody. Anytime somebody comes in with all caps, it's going right out the outbox. In the inbox, right out the outbox. I'm not listening to any all caps arguments.
Yeah. That's the Islanders night janitor, Tommy Baffy.
No. Mrs. Josh Bailey's mother saying my handsome Joshy Poo is talented and deserves respect. Oh, that's true, Grump. You got to throw some respect on it now.
That's why you are there, Mrs. Bailey.
Oh,
you can pump up your little boy's tires for him.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Not going to happen on this show.
I like the guy. And you know what? I'm sure Thomas Hickey is great at bingo, cool guy to, watch Nickelodeon reruns with. But I'm talking just from the one dynamic of on the ice.
We've been there, done that. As long as he's not playing. Wouldn't you love to see him? Wouldn't you love to see? Think about it. Wouldn't you love to see him?
That was hysterical, man.
Think about it. Wouldn't you love to see him be our second pair left-handed defenseman to play with Scott Mayfield. How'd you like that this year?
I don't want to say it. It's the one thing. It makes me want to actually. Sometimes I swear to God, I won't watch an Avalanche game. Like if it's on NBC Sports or something, I don't want to see it.
Do you catch yourself rooting for Devon Toews because you want your point to be proven more correctly? Because sometimes, I'll be honest with you,
I do.
Sometimes I do. I think to myself, I'm like, holy shit, this is something we were touting before he was traded. We said it was a miserable move before he got there. It was tailor-made of a system for him in Colorado. Do you find yourself ever rooting for Devon? I do. I find myself rooting for Devon Toews.
The way I look at it, I don't have to. His level of talent. To me, he was the most talented defenseman I've seen since Kenny Janssen, who was one of my favorites. You know,
Kenny Janssen,
so smooth, smooth.
I have a good Kenny Janssen story, real quick. Really nice guy, by the way.
Okay.
This was in, I want to say 2001. Living in North Carolina, we'd go see the Islander games when they came to play the Hurricanes, and we'd stay at the Islanders team hotel. And, and a lot of these, the Islanders were BA double D bad back then. Yeah. And Kenny Janssen was one of the big players. And one of my young son, I think he was like 3 or 4 years old. There was no other Islander fans there, just us. We're on a little Islander jerseys, and he's like, Kenny Janssen was coming in late. It was a day game, but he was coming late because his wife just had a child the day before. And he's like, oh, Mr. Janssen, can you sign? He signed a puck. He's like, oh, can you sign this book? And can you sign this? And, but my son was so charming when he was little that, he just could do anything for him. And he was a super nice guy. And hockey players are the nicest of all the athletes.
Kenny Janssen is so nice that he went home for the lockout and then just never came back because he loved those Swedish meatballs so much. That guy was so good at defense that he didn't even play in the Swedish Elite League. He played in the second tier, then went to the Olympics in 2006 with Nick Lidstrom on his team and won Best Defenseman of the tournament as they won the gold medal. But you'll never know about him because he played on those Islanders teams that were buried at the bottom of the league. Yes. He won Best Defenseman of the gold medal winning Olympic Swedish team with Nick Lidstrom on that team.
I've heard of that guy, Nick Lidstrom, before. I think I've heard of him before. Alexander saying, TJ having that LeBron hairline. Yeah, with none of the success. And Scott L saying, Andy, love the license to drive.
Wow, this guy, oh, man, that's shocking that anyone would even know that.
We have sharp people who listen to us. They're sharp.
I have Revenge of the Nerds right there, Weekend at Bernie's on the other side. I got a couple good ones.
Isles Girl 3, Kim, saying, Casey back for a great deal. He said he wants to die an Islander. He's Mr. Islander 2.0.
That's Isles Girl 3. And, okay, now she says it's a great deal for Casey. Here's the thing. Truth be told, she loves Casey Cizikas. So her judgment's a little cold.
I want to know how upset she was when she typed in the name Isles Girl and it was taken. And then she tried Isles Girl 2 and it was taken. And then she goes, all right, I guess I'll have to settle with 3.
Hey, man, it's better. I don't even know what our Twitter handle is.
Now, here's the thing. You'll pay for that one.
I'll pay for what? What are you talking about?
Well, no.
That's always.
You'll see.
No. I only say that because I got very lucky. Every single social media I have, and this is rare unless it's like a celebrity, I have my name on everything. Instagram.com/Andy Francess, YouTube, every last social media platform, and I just can't believe that I got lucky like that. So I feel for
Well, it's because nobody spells their name Francis CESS.
You might be onto something there.
Yeah. See?
I know he's another one of those guys, Casey, just like Matt Martin. He just seems to be a hunk. All the ladies love Casey and Matt Martin.
I remember I saw him at the the sloppy tuna in Montauk.
The sloppy tuna.
Just drinking, yeah. It's years ago though.
Man, oh man. I'm sorry. I'm sifting through comments, and again, I missed a lot of comments, guys. I'm going to apologize again.
Freaking DJ.
Yeah. D-Cut, I did have to use the restroom. I did drink too much water. That's why usually I go ahead. I know. What can I say? You're drinking. I try to stay hydrated. That's what they tell you. Hey, you got to eat an apple a day and stay hydrated. You'll live long.
What, are you running marathons every day? What the hell are you talking about? You get up, you go to work, you come home, you go to the bathroom, you eat. What the hell are you talking about?
Riled up.
Hey, Tom White saying Beauvillier will score 30 goals a season. Jeez, Grump, have some faith in these guys. You bash the old ones because they're old, and then you bash the young ones also.
Okay,
I'm noticing a trend with that, Grump.
okay, no. Just because I said I didn't think he was going to score 30 goals this year does not mean that I'm bashing him. That does not mean I'm bashing him.
Well, Tom, I mean, I defended that concept pretty adamantly, and they still gave me no reasons why he couldn't score 30 other than this, that, blah, blah, blah.
I told you why. See, you weren't listening.
No.
You were too busy fixing your hair, staring at the drive to the little thing in the back there. The number. Who is that? What's the number 3? Is that Johnny Starks? Is that a Johnny Starks jersey?
No. It's so I'm a Croatian, and that's Drazen Petrovic, the guy.
Oh yeah. Drazen. Well, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
He passed away, did he not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Accident. Yeah.
That's right. The car accident, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I remember him playing for the Nets way back.
So I assume you're a soccer fan too, then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. You can. Oh my God! If you look in the far left, you can see that Croatia jersey hanging, or I guess far right, depending on. I got one hanging, but for sure, definitely.
And Brett W. taking a little stab at me. Ross Johnston is better than Koivula. You're just going to have to put one out there, TJ. I know anytime I talk positive about Otto Koivula, I get a little bit run the show. But hey, it doesn't bother me that much. I did the same thing with Linus Soderstrom, and I guess I get attached. I'm one of those people I can get attached to a certain prospect. Love him, hate him.
Dude, I don't know. I should probably bring this up to you. Everybody, the few times somebody wanted to talk to me about the Islanders, it's like usually the number one thing that they want to ask about. Are you aware that? Are you aware of when the Santa Clauses all went on the ice and got in that fight in 2003?
Yeah.
So I was the orchestrator of that whole thing. I have the pictures, all that stuff to prove it. Yeah. Like I am the full orchestrator. I could quickly tell the story, but I do want to let you know the audacity of the Islanders to they casually mention it in the funny moments, and anytime I was like, hey, I could tell you the actual story and give you the pictures of when it happened. They don't want to know the real story.
I want to hear the real story.
So I'll keep it very simple. It was my freshman year of college. It's that first semester, when your friends all come back for, the holidays. So we all wanted to go to an Islander game. And at the time, they had a promotion. If you dressed up like Santa Claus, you got free tickets and prime tickets. So my friends, we had no money, we were like 17, 18. We just went to I think it was called Genovese at the time, and now, or Eckerd, Rite Aid, whatever it is. They had these Santa masks, the worst masks you've ever seen. It was cotton balls hanging on a beard, and we put on red Russell sweatpants and an Islander jersey just to qualify as some sort of lukewarm Santa Claus. So we all go to the Coliseum. It actually works. We all get tickets. Then part of the promotion was that if you were dressed up as a Santa Claus, they said, you get to go out on the ice during the intermission and wave at the crowd. Now, like many people in New York who grew up maybe around Long Island or in any of the boroughs, there's a mix of Islanders and Rangers fans within a group of friends. But when everybody's home, you all want to go to the game, even though it was an Islanders-Flyers game. So my Ranger fan friends, they decided to, and we did this, we planned it together. They wore Ranger jerseys under the Islander jerseys because they thought it would be funny if just, somebody saw it and maybe they booed them. That was the whole goal, to get a boo out of them. There you go, right here.
Don't you worry. I'll make sure to play that.
So don't hit play just yet. I'll let you know when. So it happens. We all get in. We're sitting. If you're looking at your screen, the corner, that corner where the boards are curved, those were all Santa Clauses. Those first 20 rows were designated for Santa Clauses, but then they allowed us onto the ice during the intermission, and we executed the plan where the Ranger fans, they took off their jerseys, they took off the Islander jerseys, and now there's Ranger jerseys in that crowd, and the fans start booing. So now me, who's an actual Islander fan, this is like my lifelong friend. So I just push him into my other friend who pushes him. And then the crowd starts cheering. Now these other Santa Clauses wanting to get in on being cheered for, then they start pushing my friends. But They didn't know we were friends. They just thought we were pushing them because they were Ranger fans and we were more serious about it. So then it just turned into an all-out melee where people are getting thrown everywhere. And the start of the second period got delayed, and there was just a whole ruckus. And apparently, like, it was on the news. It's in Sports Illustrated, like, craziest 100 moments of the decade. And it was just a whole big thing. And this clip that you're about to watch is, like, the next day during the intermission during the Ranger game. And they showed it, and it was wild.
By the BroadStreetBully.com, I could tell you.
Yeah, whoever that guy is, thank you, because he had the only one who had a clip of it. This is pre-YouTube.
I was about to say, this was uploaded.
So look, yeah, there's my friend. See. So now look. So my friend gives him up.
Well,
These look.
I'll rewind it there. We'll go ahead and go a little bit. I'll try. If I could go slow, I would. But oh man, I'll just hit play. I'm sorry.
So now see this kid like. So the Islander fan that's 100%. You could see the awful beards. Any awful beards are my friends. Any real see the awful beard. If you go back a few frames.
Okay.
So yeah, the awful beards were my friends. But then anytime it was a real beard, that was just so all red. See the red Russell sweatpants?
Yeah.
I told you, look, a gimmicky outfit. So here's another red Russell sweatpants with the Islanders. Anybody with the sweatpants without the actual Santa top would be one of my friends. The Islander fan on the left that you see right there. See that gimmicky Santa beard hat combo? I guess maybe it's too blurry, but anybody with like the real outfit and the belt is somebody we don't know piling on my friend Yee.
Oh my goodness gracious! Look at
Can I just say one thing about that? That was the last time that Santa Claus is ever seen on ice again.
So the NHL since then has forbid all on ice promotions with the fans. Not meaning like, hey, come out onto the ice and it's pre-approved, but just fans get to walk out on the ice as part of anything other than like something strictly controlled by the league. We ruined it for everyone.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. Thank you for ruining it for everyone, Andy. Good
No
job.
problem. Hey,
I love this story. I love that story.
That's a true staple. Everyone goes, well, how did you impact your team? So I'd say that's a pretty good impact. You and your kids can't see the ice because of me.
Oh,
I like it.
I was about to say, man, oh man. And then we've got a whole bunch of I'm sorry. There's a lot of comments. And
Hey, take your time. Just look for the one. Just cherry pick the ones that made me sound good.
anything that's going to make Grumpy sound bad, I'll make sure to throw up there.
Make sure you throw those in there.
And I have the original pictures that we took with the old school camera that we had to get like,
Develop.
or maybe it was early digital cameras, an awful digital camera, but I have them for certain on my computer. So I got the receipts, as they say.
Oh man, Grumpy. I remember when we did Stump the Grump. Do you remember what the receipts means, Grumpy? It's a term. It's a term.
I know what it means.
Oh, okay, Grumpy. I just figured I'd ask you again. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you now, I won't be able to, there's a lot of comments. I'm not going to be able to read them all, and I do apologize, guys. It's been very entertaining or just normal conversation. So, Grump, I'm going to deviate a little bit away from the comments. I know.
Uh-oh.
What are you own about? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anytime that you deviate from the plan usually turns out boring.
I know. I'm going to be probably thrown up on a stake. Just happy nobody knows where I live. I'll be thrown up on a stake, my head up on a pike.
If they knew where you lived, they wouldn't care.
That's probably true. But man, oh man, that's an interesting story there too. But I kind of want to hear, Andy, I mean, your opinion here on going forward, because we've always broken it down if we thought certain segments of the offseason, the draft, we did a good job. Offloading cap, we did a good job. What we need to do the next step-wise, I still think needs a little bit of room for improvement. But I just kind of get your take on the offseason so far as a whole, Andy.
I think given what was put in front of us, like the obstacles that were in front of us in terms of the cap that we had to work with versus what we were able to do, you really have to be crazy to think it's not a good job getting rid of Ladd's contract. Now they chose to go with Eberle. Wish it was Bailey, but even if whatever, that was another $5.5 million off, and then they were able to get all the free agents, maybe some that you wanted, some that you didn't, for either under market or close to market value. It's very, very, very difficult to look at that offseason and say, oh, they did a bad job, because I'd ask you how. Oh, and they got rid of Leddy, who was a defensive liability on the last year. They got rid of that contract. I mean, pretty good job, man.
I think it's an A with getting rid of the contracts. I think we at least are at a B plus, if not an A minus in the draft. I just think for additions to push the team forward, I still think we're status quo. We're sitting. Overall, the offseason, I think it's been about a B.
Tell that to Chicago, who deserved to keep Leddy and deserved to keep Bufflin and deserved to keep Panarin. There's a harsh reality known as this salary cap. Same thing in the NFL. Like, there's nothing you can do. Unfortunately, it's like you're looking at the mercy. Tampa just lost its full third line. You think they're happy about that? I mean, what are you going to do? You have to do it, or you can't keep your players.
I like how they're able to get Corey Perry on a 2-year deal at $1 million per. I think that's a great deal.
That's like Rondo going to like the Lakers just for that. Yeah, he's just trying to weasel a cup. But they lost 2 guys in their late 20s, and they lost Yanni Gord to right?
Lost
I mean, this is not nobody. They rolled 4 lines like the Islanders, and every team gets dealt a backhand to the face. Boston lost Krejci. Year before, they lost Torrey Krug and Char. It's just, name me one team that just gets to keep just walking down, like having a good old time. It just doesn't happen. The question should be, how bad did we get shot? Like, nobody ever comes out fine. You only lose. You don't win.
Now, it's a different sport, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought back all 22 starters from the Super Bowl from last year. I'm just saying.
You got a cheap pop for Tom Brady in there too.
That was a cheap pop. It was easy. It was a layup.
All right. I don't mind as long as you admit it.
Oh, he knows.
But just as far as the NHL, I just always want to point that out because it's easy to say, but we didn't.
Well, you look at
nobody did.
But think about it. You look at Tampa Bay from last year to this year. They didn't lose anybody of consequence last year.
Are you forgetting and I'm not going to blame them. They did what they had to do. But what do you mean? They were they threw somebody on the IR to avoid having to make those moves.
Well, what does it tell you about their talent, right? They were able to play the whole year without Kucherov and then put Stamkos for the last 15 games of the year on long-term injury. They can bring him back with
absolutely.
no cap.
You're talking about the defending Stanley Cup champions who the year before that broke the record for most wins in league. Yeah, you're talking about a legendary team. But once again, the only way they didn't have to lose players was stashing him on IR. And this year, no more stashing. You lose your whole third line.
Now, Kucherov was legitimately injured.
I get it.
He wasn't legitimately injured.
But you know, if that wasn't an issue, he'd be back about 30. And by the way, I'm not one of these blasters, but this is what you do. Look, you know what'd be really interesting to look at? The amount of Islander fans who like give them a bunch of cap stuff about circumventing, and then they're just completely cool with Lamoriello bending the rules, holding the cards until next year about when he could release his signings. Because if you see no hypocrisy in that, then I don't know what to tell you.
I have no problem with what Tampa Bay did. I question all the Islander fans who think that Lou was doing this to somehow outsmart the rest of the league.
But not even that. The fact that they don't call it out, the fact that this is cool because it's my team, not cool if somebody else does something within the rules.
Yeah, I'm cool as long as if it's the rule, it's the rule. I could care less. I fight Islander fans on that all the time. It does not bother me what Tampa Bay did. They were just smart. Yeah. They used the rule and they benefited by it. You know what? Change the rule. In the next CBA, say that that's not available. I don't blame any team for utilizing anything they can.
Meanwhile, that's the only reason we were able to trade for Palmieri. Like they're just crying.
Right.
They need a reason. They need a reason. Tampa, they deserved it, man. They deserved it.
Yeah, they're best team in the league.
Yeah, for certain they are. You won't see us argue it. And again, we've always been a big believer of not against the rules. I mean, nothing but unlucky.
It doesn't bother me at all that we lost to Tampa. You want to know why? They're the best team in the league. They're better than us.
The only thing that really bothered me, and I can't let it. It's not leaving me, unfortunately. So they mailed in Game 5, which people ripped them for. I said, fine, come home, get the Game 6, as long as you're not flat in Game 7. I don't believe in the fake, hey, the captain and he made I don't believe that it's like, oh my God, we lost by 8. Let's go home forever. No, it's you mailed it in. It's the planned mail-in. And I was the only one that was okay with it. I'm like, look, yeah, they lost by 8. Guess what? If they win the next game 2-1 in overtime, I believe I said, ended up being 3-2. I was like, if they win 2-1, guess what the series is? And then what do you say? Do you come back in here and go, oh, yes, nobody talks about that game. Come game 7, nobody talks about game 5 anymore. And the reason I'm so heartbroken, they mailed in game 7. They played the exact way that I thought they would have played if they gave out an all-out effort games 5 and 6. They mailed 2 of the last 3 games in, and I cannot get around that. Just go back and watch this game. They're not skating. They made so many ill-advised plays. They did not play hard until the last 3 minutes of the game. It was inexcusable. I still don't know why. It's devastating to me.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this, and I think I want to mention the comment there. Game 5, they got absolutely obliterated. I knew Game 6, there's no way in hell the Coliseum. I even said so. I said, if you got money, DraftKings, take it. There's no way in hell the Islanders lose Game 6, the last game at the Coliseum. That's not happening. You could pencil that in. That being said, do you think it was they didn't give the effort, or as they play a more physical brand in the playoffs and our team is an older team, do you think that also wore them down? Because I think towards the first part of the series, game 1, I thought we threw the body a good bit, and we had a physical series against Boston. We had a physical series against Pittsburgh as well, or I'd say more Boston than Pittsburgh. But do you think it was the age and the physical play caught up to the Islanders, or just that they didn't have the effort?
It's very hard to gauge that, because, when you roll forward lines like the Islanders do, that usually tends to be an issue with teams that have shorter benches, things of that nature. But with the Islanders, there was no extra series against Florida this year. It was a shortened season. There's not that many excuses, especially, like I said, when they mailed it. You got to watch game 5. They're just gliding around, and I was cool with it. I go, say whatever you got. I want to see on that ice game 7. I remember at the end of the first period, I was like, all right, now let's go in the last 2. And then they did it again. And I remember just walking around like it was like a ghost town. I just couldn't believe what I saw. They waited until the last 3 minutes and then tried to throw something together.
I like Andy's ability to just actually pull his hair out by doing that. And see, I do that. I can't. We gotta be more careful, Grump. I can't be just willy-nilly and throw my hair around over there. I don't have hair like AJ Malesko does.
When you get a chance, when you get the heart, rewatch that game, and they're skating in quicksand.
I almost felt that Tampa Bay was toying with us to a certain extent in Game 7.
Well, Game 1
Game 1 they didn't.
Game 1 Tampa looked like it was the preseason. I swear they literally it was so weird.
At the end of Game 1, real quick, I was about to say, and now, Grump, I'll let you make the comparison you usually like to make. But Cooper, after Game 1, we talked about it. He's over here addressing his shirt. He's addressing, hey, making sure my suit looks good as he's getting asked questions. Oh, casually not giving a shit. I said, what the heck? I said, he doesn't give us a second thought in the world right now. And I'm just like, I did think they did have that laissez-faire. I'm not too worried about Game 1 type of attitude, Tampa.
I always like to say when the series was to me, the game of the series that we needed to win was Game 3 at home. That's the game we didn't show up for.
And also Tampa has this ability when they say, hey, we're going to do one of these 1-goal games. The Islanders did not get one chance that entire game. And that wasn't an effort thing. That was a game, a style of play thing. Tampa didn't even try for too much offense. They shut the Islanders down in every way possible. And I remember after that game, I go, when they care, it is hard to see us winning this series. And
that's what I felt.
You saw that again, Game 5, and you saw it again, Game 6. You saw that. I mean, the Islanders had to dig themselves out in a legendary 2. Just the problem is, it was there. All it took was the one game, and I thought. And I'm a guy who factors in misery. How can you not take the momentum of that Game 6 overtime after mailing in the Game 5? It's one thing if you went nuts both games. I still can't understand.
I like to draw the comparison that the series was 2-2, and Tampa was going home. They got home on the plane. They all got in their beds, and then Stamkos wakes up and he's like, "Is that right? Hold on, let me look at my phone. It's 2-2. Hey, Hedman, do you realize the series is 2-2? I can't believe it's 2-2. Is it real?
No.
Kucherov, is it real?
You've heard some interviews that Pat Maroon said, like, there was only been one time in the last 2 rounds of the playoffs that, like, I ever was even nervous for one game, and it was before that Islanders game 7. He's like, we were thinking, like, these guys roll 4 lines like us. It's been it was after that game 6 in Boston, man. Why do the Isles do this to me? They show me my line is they show me the penthouse on my way to the dungeon. Like, they make sure they let me see it. And because I wasn't believing, I watched those Pittsburgh games. I'm going, oh, they're like, they were so lucky. Then I watched the first parts of the Boston games, and then game 6 happens, and they start to get a little belief, and then they win game 1 in Tampa. I go, what are these guys doing to me? And then I re-lost faith in them, and then I'm at game 6. Never had it seen in a place like this once in my life. Outrageous. I actually have belief in game 7, and then they just send me right to hell.
Yeah, but like I said, the game 7 for me, anyway, I just think Tampa Bay just kind of toyed with us. They just kind of played. They played their max ability. I thought they just shut us down totally.
Dude, it wasn't there, man. Like, it just wasn't.
Because
you see it.
I just thought Tampa totally dictated play that game.
When exactly, but that shouldn't happen in a game 7.
But they're just better than everybody else. That's my whole thing is they have the ability to do that.
And same team got swept by they are beatable. They got swept the last real season with the full season in the playoffs. They got swept. They can be beat. It's just unfortunate the way
they got a couple of sandpaper guys to go with all that talent, and that's what. And you got to remember, the first year they won the cup, they struggled against Columbus in that first thing. It wasn't until they won that double or triple overtime game that they got that monkey off their back. And I thought that kind of set them apart.
They beat them in 5. They had no problem with them. But remember, that team from the previous year was gone. There was no Panarin, Duchesne, all those guys. So
but they still had to get that monkey off their back. That thing, that belief that they could win after all those years of not winning.
Yeah.
And like I said, but I mean, hey, Tampa's a great team. I don't think they're repeating this year.
No.
But I don't think we're winning either. I'm looking at Devon Taves lifting that cup. That'll drive you crazy.
That he just got to go ahead and throw that last.
I'll tell you who the one team that should be sicker than the Islanders is the Vegas Golden Knights. They were the co-favorites to win the cup, and deservedly so, stacked from top to bottom. And then Marc-Andre Fleury, that goal behind the net cost them going up 2-0 in that series. And then they play Tampa in what would have been one of the most entertaining series you've watched since Chicago played LA in the Western Conference Finals, and we were, I hate to say screwed out of it, but
you want to know what I took out of that series? That Montreal put 3 kids, 21 and younger, and just said, you know what? Go out there like your hair's on fire.
That series was over. That was 1 minute from being like Fleury gives them the tying goal. It was about to be 2-0 Vegas going back to an empty building. That series is a wrap, and that just changed everything. And, people ain't going to want to hear this. Fleury's out for me, too, after something like that.
Really? I think it's funny.
I'm sorry. You're an Islander fan. You're right. This follows him his whole career. There's always some sort of blunder, some sort of... I can't do it.
I feel like people have the same feelings about Marc-Andre Fleury that they used to have about Roberto Luongo. He can't do this, he can't do that. Even though numbers are great, production was there. Marc-Andre Fleury, excellent year last year, but he makes a crucial mistake in a moment like that, like he has made before in Pittsburgh, and everybody's like, hey, you want to get rid of him. And I always think to myself, that's a guy who, I mean, you gotta say it, right? He's borderline Hall of Fame worthy, is he not?
It's tough how you want to view that, because he's a guy who got passed over multiple times during his younger years because his quality of play wasn't enough to merit keeping the job, and eventually they moved on from him, and then he truly established himself in Vegas. He only met his number 1 potential in Vegas, and at that point you're already looking at the later part of his career, and he was fantastic. But the fact that we signed, and by we I'm putting myself in their shoes, they signed Leonard, so they know they have him. Enough of this drama thing next year where I have to be put in this situation where I have to keep flip-flopping. So it was the right thing to do. Just like us, I told you, there's no getting better. If you have salary cap implications, these things have to happen. And he would have been the guy I would have let go of too.
And he's older. I mean, he's also older than Ron Leonard. Now, all I'm going to say is one thing: Marc-Andre Fleury made that big save against Detroit in Game 7 in the last 15 seconds, which wins them the cup.
Yeah, I don't hate the guy at all. But
he's extremely well liked around the league.
Yeah,
extremely well.
And I like him too. So just like Josh Bailey, I'm just talking from you have 2 starting goalies, and
that's one too many.
Yeah.
It's one too many.
Coming from a team with 2 starting goalies.
That's one too many.
Oh man. Hey, I'm looking forward to Sorokin as he continues that maturation process, but that's a conversation for another time
Yes,
period.
sir.
And again, I know I apologize. We didn't really get to read too many comments. I was just enthralled with having Andy on. And again, I like the fiery conversations that we had on here today. I don't want to interrupt any of that for comments. But number one, I want to say thank you, Andy, for coming on to the podcast today and coming on the live stream. We do appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Over the course of my videos and everything I make, Islanders is a thing. The most you'll see is an Islander jacket on as a quick to the Islander fans. But I have so much that I've always wanted to talk about, and they just stays bottled up in this green room here. So I'm happy to share these opinions with somebody
and get some of that out for certain. And again, I'm sorry, Grump, were you about to say something?
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
I liked having somebody that would go tit for tat with Grumpy, because sometimes I get bogged down with everything I've got to do, Grump. I can't call you on everything.
Okay, all right, TJ. Here,
I'm smiling.
Go ahead, TJ. I'll throw you a freaking bone. Right, I'll pump up your tires. Okay,
that's not what I'm looking for. I'm just
everyone knows. Everyone knows.
I just like TJ. That
TJ does everything for this podcast. Absolutely everything. And without TJ, there would be no podcast. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. There would not be one. So is that good enough for you, TJ?
Grumpy, I was just giving you a hard time. It's Jerry Springer saying when he started talking shit about Bellows, calling him plain faced, worshiping Brock Grump, I felt Grumpy having an aneurysm.
I called him a generic. He was playing like a generic creative player from NHL that just has a 75 at everything.
Oh man!
You got to remember, fellas, Andy's a little younger than the rest of us, so
No, Brian, great.
Come on, they know what NHL is.
Hey, yeah, I was about to say, Grumpy. I know that doesn't hit with you, but Brian P. there.
There's too many buttons and levers. I mean, come on, I'm a pinball guy.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Staying quiet like Master Yoda. Andy, Tampa has been to 5 conference finals in 7 years and 3 cups under salary cap league. That is amazing. They're fantastic, better than we are. Yeah.
Wait, what was I saying? They weren't good. All I was saying is that only because we were in the Game 7, coming off the most emotional Game 6. Many times in sports, you see an extra element of belief carry into the next game. Like when you saw Ray Allen hit that magical 3-pointer when the series was legitimately lost against the Spurs. Series was over. A magical from the crowd 3. The Miami arena was empty. They ended up winning that game in overtime and then handled them the next game. That's all I was insinuating. The Islanders are a worse team. 100%. It was only the way it happened. I believed they had a chance in that Game 7. But yes, clearly Tampa's better.
Everyone knew I never thought they were going to beat Tampa in Game 7. But let me ask you a question, Andy. How did you feel when Josh Bailey comes skating off the bench and he loses his guy coming down the slot, decides to go into the corner where Palmieri's already on his way there? So we got 3 guys on one. Bingo, bango.
You know what? At least this will give me some credibility for, I will not bash people unnecessarily. If you look, he checks his guy, and it literally like a timing out of the Matrix. He checks, and he sees his guy is peeling, so there is nobody there. At the exact second he sees that he's okay, it's an actual line change, and it's why he lost the cue. So it's not that he looked, and he did have his man, but that man ended up, it was awful timing. That guy was going into the front of the bench, but he didn't see that because then he turned his head, and that's why he lost track of the guy that was coming. So I would love to shit on him, but he did do the right thing, and it was a very unfortunate. However, you're right. He should not have gone drifted over to two people. Should have hung down the middle, but I'm not going to give him a 10 out of 10 bashing.
I just question that because we keep on hearing how he is so smart.
Oh, he's
a genius hockey player. You know what you never hear, though? That he's a good hockey player or a great hockey player. Just how smart he is. That's all you ever hear. You never hear him say, man, that Josh Bailey, he could thread a needle with the pass. Nope. It's always, hey, Josh Bailey, you know what? He is so smart. His IQ is so
we crushed
good.
him too much. Even I've gone too much on him tonight.
You need to listen to this podcast.
No, I know.
There's never any stop to it. But yeah, and again, and thanks again, Andy, for coming on. And we'd love to have you back on again. I like getting other takes, and again, I love your comedy. I love the bits that you do on it, and I listen to the podcast that you've got. And again, the name of the podcast one more time.
It's You're Still Here.
With a question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
But yeah, it should be, you'd be able to find it, but it's like, you're still here. Like, I'm surprised that people are still listening. Like, that's the, kind of thing behind it.
It's funny. When I searched it up on Spotify, I don't use Spotify, self-admittedly. When I watch everything, I do it on YouTube. But when I search it, there's a lot of other ones that are You're Still Here. So I had to designate the difference between the question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
So if you put the question mark, it should be there. And I know if a lot of people use like Apple Music or the Apple Podcasts, if you type it in there, or if you just type in Andy Francess on either, it will be able to pull them. But it's also on all platforms, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, all that stuff. And then the link is in my bio on all my social media platforms. Shouldn't be too hard to find, and you'll probably enjoy it.
Grump, you know how to get to those links in the description, right?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You keep on saying it's the bottom. I don't see anything on this thing.
Oh, man, Grump. I'll have to go through an educational piece afterwards. Were you about to say something, Grump?
Yeah, once again, that's Andy Francess with a CESS on the back end.
Franchise.
Thanks so much, guys, for listening to the live stream again. Sorry we didn't get to too many comments, but I do appreciate everybody listening to the live stream and the podcast. Grump, I know there's something you always like to say before we wrap things. Hold on. D-Cut. Grumpy, I know you do two things before every single end of the podcast.
Yep. And now, first of all, I already gave out a shout out to Isles Misery Rated R. I did earlier today. D-Cut, I always give you your props. You know that. Also, I'd like to remind everyone tomorrow, 9:00-ish.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The TJ and the Grumpy Old Man Show, where we're going to talk about just everything in sports that's happened since Sunday, which is a lot of things.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listened and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
You're going to throw Andy in there too, right?
And Andy too. Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was very fun. Time flew.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank everybody who tuned in and listened. We'll have you back on again, Andy. I tell you, I liked your points. I liked your takes on it. I like thinking outside the box. I don't like anything to be mentally obese. So thank you so much again, Andy. And Grumpy. Oh man.
But thanks.